Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode, what are we at, 16 now?
14.
75.
14? It's 14? Welcome to
Yes.
episode 14. It feels like 16. Um, and today we got Johnny's back, guys. Everyone say hello to Johnny.
How you doing?
Um,
Hey, smoke up, Johnny.
and Johnny's
It's
prepared.
a
Look at his backdrop there, guys. Look at that.
it's a comfortable 2 a.m. here in Germany.
And I just shut my TV off. All right. So, Johnny, what have you been up to since last time we had you on? Anything?
Oh,
exciting?
I don't know. A lot. When was I on? It was back. I think. What do you guys had me on every 10 episodes? I think it was episode 4. I was on here before. So that was a while back. That was before all the holidays. So yeah, I did all the holiday stuff. Probably similar to you guys. Went back to the States, but I laid low for about 2 weeks in Alabama. Visited some family. Came back over here, and I've been doing the Army thing quite a bit. And we do a little selling on the weekends on whatnot. So been around just doing the stuff, watching you guys mostly over on the whatnots. So
Well, I've been watching you over on the YouTube. Been making some killer content over there. So congrats
thank you
on
very
that.
much.
Amazing stuff.
Thank you.
Now, when you came home, where's the first place you went to eat? Like, that you were
Trying to
craving?
remember the first place we went. I
Panda
think-
Express. Yeah.
So I can eat panda over here. I have that down at Ramstein Air Base.
How
But,
far of a drive, though? Didn't you say it's like a couple hours?
Well, it's about 4.5 hours, but I have to go down there every month for my drill with the Army. So I'm down there all the time. I think the first place that we might have gone was it was like junk food constant. Like we didn't eat anything healthy for 2 weeks. I think I had Jersey Mike's 4 or 5 times.
Yes.
Definitely went to places like Arby's and Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A was probably the first place we hit for Retta to get a chicken sandwich. So, but no, we ate just tons of junk food. I think I probably gained 15, 20 pounds on that trip. So
Did you try the steak nuggets at Arby's?
I didn't. I just really wanted a Jamocha shake. That's really all I wanted out of Arby's. So, but no, it was a good trip. Too bad you guys, all 3 of you jokers, live too far away from where I was, or I'd have come by and knocked on your doors. But maybe some other time.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Doors open.
Oh, yeah, man. Absolutely. You're always welcome here. Scott, I don't know. Johnny, absolutely.
So I don't know what's you guys have any news that we want to talk about. I do know that today is Steve Perry's birthday. 77 years old.
Is it really 77?
77 years old, yes.
Well, I'll share. I don't know how Johnny found out, but we had the same news in pre-show. We were talking, and I found out because Hauser sent me something on Instagram that Eagles' Greatest Hits is now the greatest selling record in the United States. It's the first one to do quadruple platinum.
Diamond.
I'm sorry, not platinum, diamond. So in excess of 40 million units sold in
Correct.
the U.S. Or I should say shipped. Some of them may not be sold yet. But
40 million. Yeah,
that's
a
impressive.
few. That's a few.
It's a couple.
So he beat out Michael Thriller, right? So past
Yes.
Thriller.
In the United States, yes, because that's what we were talking about pre-show as well.
Worldwide,
haven't
not.
seen the international numbers, so Thriller might still be number 1 in the world, but the Eagles hold the title in America.
How is Rumors not taken over that yet? Considering I know how many people ask for Rumors constantly.
It's probably top 5 for sure.
It's got to be heading up to that higher number.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be 30 million itself,
And then we were talking about Toto the other day, and
Everywhere.
and I was looking up numbers, and there's something like at least one member of Toto has been on at least 5,000 different records, and probably counts for more than 500 million records worldwide.
I'm guessing this would be. We didn't have time to verify this, but after that conversation we were having, I was like, I bet Steve Lukather has played on more Grammy winning and nominated songs than anybody in music history.
I mean, factor in. I'm just doing random research because what we were doing, and it just made me think of the Grease soundtrack, and I pulled something up. Because we were talking about that's how we got to because the Bee Gees somehow got in that conversation, which I knew Barry Gibb had written a couple of songs for Grease, and then in reading I discovered that members from Toto played
Yeah,
on the
David,
Grease soundtrack, and I'm like, they are everywhere.
Well, I think on Discogs that said Luke Father was 897 different credits, and I'm sure it's more
Yeah,
than
I
that.
believe
but
it.
even I was talking to Trin from Cap City, and they perform on Japanese records too, so they've been doing it all.
I'm
Wow.
sure, like they're probably like their heroes.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's
Steve
just crazy.
Lukather is just he is a badass, man.
But imagine
Guy
half
can
a billion
play.
records that have been released into the world have a member of Toto on them. At least a half a billion.
So 500,000 records technically could be yacht rock.
No, no,
Just saying.
no.
Scott's
No.
gonna say arena rock.
Arena rock.
Come on, focus.
New releases. I haven't kept up this week with new releases, but
I have a list
And-
pulled up. I'm seeing what is actually tomorrow. Megadeth, Van Morrison, both have releases.
What Van Morrison release?
It's Somebody Tried to Sell Me a Bridge is the name of the album. And then within the next month, I'm seeing stuff from J. Cole, Nick Jonas, Pucifer, so Maynard's side project, Silver Sun Pickups. I know. Oh, Hillary Duff is releasing something. Wow, that's not a Mumford and Sons. Bruno Mars has an album at the end of February, as well as Rob Zombie. So there's a lot of stuff. You know, we're
and I'm sure
cruising into
BTS is
summertime.
going to have something soon too.
didn't Mumford and Sons like take a break for a while? Like,
I believe so. That's why seeing them on this list is kind of interesting.
yeah, it seemed like they've been gone for a while. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So the name of the album is going to be Prize Fighter from Mumford and Sons. So, and that's 20th of February. So, right at a month.
Cool.
Nice.
Let's see what else. What else? Anything you guys want to talk about?
Yeah,
Wow.
and this is typically where you do the what you picked up, right? So what'd
Yeah,
you
let's-
pick up
let's-
to sell,
Yeah,
Sean?
what'd you pick up? Yeah, what'd you pick up to sell this week? And we'll go with Jonny first.
Okay, so a few things. The first one we ran this in our show this past weekend, but it was too good not to show it off. If anybody hasn't been picking up any of the 50th anniversary stuff from Pink Floyd, this happens to be. Let me grab my mitt. The liquid filled.
Oh wow!
Whoa.
And amazingly enough, this
I hear
you
it
would
sounds
think,
good.
You would think it's like a picture disc and it would be noisy. This thing sounds amazingly good. We played it live during the stream on Sunday, so that's a really cool one that if it doesn't sell, I'm not going to be too disappointed. I'll just keep that one. I don't have any liquid fills in my own collection, so that would be a cool one. Scott, I don't know if you've picked this one up yet, but I come to find out recently you like this artist too. Alice Merton's new album came out this past week. Early adopters got the signature. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And it's on a really
Wow,
really
that's
nice
cool.
splatter. It's a really good album too. I've been listening to this one a lot.
She has
So
a cool
we have-
sound. I like her sound.
It is. And that album is very dynamic. So every song kind of has a different feel. Kind of disjointed musically, but it works. One of the benefits, I guess it's a benefit to living in Europe, is sometimes we get stuff early because they mess up. I got this 3 weeks early. This is not supposed to be out until the 30th. So they the Alice in Chains official web store mailed these out early. And I got these. I was out of town actually when it showed up, and Retta was like, "You got a package from the UK." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Open it up, and it was this. So, Alice in Chains officially releases next week. Sean, I got to tell you, this Rick Astley album is actually not bad. I don't care what I got this from Sean, Shark Crossing Vinyl. Put this on and we listened to it the other night, and Reddit 2 was like, you know what? That was actually not offensive. That was pretty good. So if you haven't listened to that, it's from 2023. It's actually a pretty decent Rick Astley album. I did a little trade up with Stacy. She wanted my picture disc, so I got her. It's called the Bathwater Edition of Lord Virgin. So we just did a little swaparoo. And then I was placing an order the other day, and I saw this was available, and I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll get a pristine German pressing.
Yes.
I now have a copy in
Hey,
my
you need.
collection.
I need to send you an essential 500 sticker to slap on that. But
I need like a whole stack of those things. Man.
Yeah.
I was
It needs to
wondering
look
how
like
do you get a
this.
hold of those? So
there you go.
Yeah, I
There
have
it
an
is.
aqua blue. I have the Dreamweaver coming on aqua blue.
Oh,
soon.
nice.
A new reissue.
But those are just some of my recent acquisitions. So shifted over to whichever member of the Brady Bunch we were doing now.
Look, if anybody ever needs anything, right? Like, I got you covered. We're
Talking
we're
about
dreaming
strange,
it out.
talking about strange addiction.
We should do those. I'll grab my peppers, and you can have your Dreamweavers.
We
He's
could.
supposed to be giving all those away, but he won't hold the show and give them away.
So the show, as of now, is probably going to be end of month.
We'll
He's
see.
been promising a 10 Dreamweaver giveaway. 10.
So I think I have like 12. So we're definitely going to do 10. The bulk of the Dream Weaves will be given away. They vary in condition, but they're free.
So, Jake, do you have anything new this week to share?
Did I get anything this week?
Well, I'm going to show. Well, I don't know what he's doing, but I picked up this. According to Joe, this is one of the Joe's essentials that he presented in our show. This is the acoustic sound series. So I got that for myself, and I just picked up this George Harrison "Let It Roll," which is basically a greatest hits album, first time on vinyl, which is pretty cool. 2 LP. Can't wait to crack that open and give that a listen.
Stacy. My one, I got an 89 original Cosmic thing, B-52s.
It's a good one to
That's a
show.
good record.
Good one to have. I've been kind of going on a little sentimental kick, just records. Again, I remember when my brother got this at the record store. So, my brother was 3.5 years older than me. So his allowance, yeah, Johnny, his allowance, was always more than mine. And his allowance was always enough to where he would go, just like I did finally. Anytime we got money every week, we would go to the record store and it would be spent on tapes and CDs. And I remember when he got this cassette tape. And anytime he would come in and buy stuff, we would immediately go into his room and boom, we would listen to the album front to back. It's just fun. I just kind of makes me really kind of think about those days, just kind of sitting in there. And he had an awesome setup because his whole room was just covered in posters. And it was just good quality time with him. Those were like, moments in my life with my brother. He wasn't necessarily the nicest guy, being a younger brother. We had moments where we got along, but that's where we really bonded, was music and movies. So I've been thinking about him a lot recently, and I have just kind of gone back thinking about, some of those albums, and I'm like, some of them I have, and some of them I'm searching for, and this is one of them. So
Cool.
Just one. Usually I get a few, but just one.
You don't need them all. And Scott, I think we'll let you go next.
Okay. The
I'll show
show's
that
not going to
Sesame
leave
Street
anybody out this week. All right. So I can definitely say the 2 records I got this month were directly as a result of us doing this podcast. So the first one, Bob Dylan,
Oh mercy, yeah.
Oh Mercy, Mobile Fidelity. And the 2 records have a theme. So this one, I really discovered how much I loved it when I was doing all the top 5 Dylan record research. And I was like, that's a good record. Then I learned it was produced by Daniel Lanois, and I was like, no wonder I like the sound of that record. And the next one came about because our good friend Adam, the Grateful Dentist, submitted his records for the week, and I didn't know what this was. And me and him had a conversation, and he said, you got to listen to that on a good stereo. So the two records I bought are two records that affirm that I spent the appropriate amount of money on my stereo. Make me feel good about that because they both sound spectacular on a high-end system. So,
And that just came out in Mobile Fidelity like 2 weeks ago.
yep.
How are those Edifier speakers working for you, Scott? I bet they sound phenomenal.
I wouldn't have that trash like that in my house.
It's good for a starter, but you'll need when you get those, you'll notice that there is definitely room for improvement. But we don't want to equipment shame anyone because whatever gets you into vinyl is the right equipment for you at the time.
Those Edifiers are now officially, and just so y'all know, when I say that, it's in reference to me because, I've never really had a great system. And let's be honest, I'm the town idiot, the village idiot of this group, right? So as long as there's speakers and I'm able to hear music, like I don't care. They could be good, they could be okay. But for what I had those for in my room, it worked because it's not like a space where I'm listening to music hours a day. Like, I might be in the room doing stuff. I just want some speakers to where it's not going to, blow the house down. But Scott's speakers that I got, I'll just say, damn. When I put records on, I don't leave the room. When I put a record on, I listen to it front to back, and I hear things that I haven't heard in years. And the edifiers,
or never.
The edifiers officially have gone down to the wife's office.
And again, they're a good start, and because we don't want to equipment shame people, because whatever
equipment shame me all you want, please.
I did your edifiers. But I mean, my first setup, I started with edifiers, my last setup, and I've graduated further. But whatever gets you into vinyl is all right to start. But again, there's always bigger, better. Stay away from the suitcase record players. That's really the thing. Stay away from those.
I took pride in my Kenmores, okay? I took pride in my Sears Kenmore speakers when I was 15. Those things with a jam.
And I guess we'll have to. I have Fluon speakers also, and they do well. And I'd love to upgrade too, but I'm happy with the ones I have.
Anything about Fluon is respectable. That's respectable.
Y'all are great with that. Y'all have that knowledge. Anybody ever wants to talk to anyone amongst this group about some good, affordable stuff, you talk to this guy. Mm-hmm. I got you. All day long.
Because we always get the question: should I get a better needle? Should I get a better table? Should I get a better receiver? Better speakers? And where do you start? I mean, that's always the question. And
that's a great question, Sean, to ask.
But to me, it's almost speakers for me, because it doesn't matter what your needle can do. If your speakers can't do it, then it doesn't matter. But there's always a back and forth. And maybe we'll discuss this again further in the future. I think we should definitely do a show tech talk or just some little segments here and there. But again, guys, if you have questions, feel free to ask, reach out. We always have people asking that in our shows, and there's no set answer. I mean, it's really going to do with what your budget is, and then you go from there. But
it's always the first question to ask them. Where would you like to be money wise? Because there's different tiers, and there's good stuff in every tier, And the higher you go, the less the return on your investment is. So you might get 5%. You might spend $10,000 more and only get like 2-3% more improved sound quality. So
and we'll be happy to discuss that in future shows. If you have questions, ask in the chat, and then maybe in a future show we can cover that and put our brains together and see if we know anything. All right, so are we ready for our Essential 500 for the week? Yeah. We always start with the guest, which is Jonny. So you are up.
This is going to be an interesting one to try to show. So the first time that I was invited to come on here, the conversation with Scott, they we want to have diversity amongst the group, and he's like, we need someone to do some metal type stuff because he knows I listen to a little bit of metal. So I thought last time I was on here, I did one metal, one 90s, and one classic, and I've kind of stuck to the same theme tonight. So kind of a little preview of what is to come. So I'm going to start with a metal album, but I also mentioned earlier that I'm in Germany, so I figured why not a German metal album. So I went with everyone's favorite German metal band, Rammstein, and this is their second full album release, Sehnsucht, which means desire or longing in German. That's the anniversary edition, which is why it looks like a mirror. That's why I was holding it kind of funny. So this is the 45 RPM version, so I'll grab the actual record because this is more close to what you're going to see if you saw this in the standard version. It's one of 6 covers, actually. So this album came out in 1997, and it would have been one of any 6 members of the band on the cover. So this album, like I said, released in 1997, produced by the band and Jakob Hellner, who has actually gone on to produce all the rest of their albums. Like I said, it's German metal. It went to number 1 in Germany. It went to number 1 in Austria, which is also a German-speaking country. And it made it to number 45 in the United States, which is actually quite an accomplishment considering it is an entirely German language record. So it's not a German band singing in English. This is completely in Deutsch. Over 3 million copies sold of this worldwide. 1.2 million of that was in the United States. The rest of it was mainly in Germany and Europe. So it has the reason that I think that I went with choosing this album over any of the other of their other albums. So I would say that would be Marilyn Manson, but we'll everyone is entitled to their opinion. Sehnsucht is not my favorite Rammstein album. But I'm recommending this one because I think it's the best place to start with this band. Their first album is a little bit rougher. I like it better, but the production is not quite as polished. And the production on their third album, Mutter, is actually even better than this. But this is a really good entryway into the band if you want to get into their stuff at all. And I will say it's not for everyone, but everyone can listen to it. And I think Scott, did you actually get a chance to listen to this yet?
I did because I wasn't familiar. I was familiar with the band, but really hadn't listened to any of it. So I gave it a spin, 2 spins today. And actually my wife's comment wasn't an informed comment because she got home from work right as I was finishing the second listen. And that was her comment to me, is the one she put in chat was, this sounds like the music they play when you're in hell. And my reaction was quite different because I was telling Jonny before show, like if you scream or you growl in a song, I'm out. Like, don't like it. Don't. So there's a whole little subgenre of rock music I just can't stand.
I will never play you the stuff from my band then, Scott.
So, but I was pleasantly surprised. So mainly because I was expecting something a little rougher sounding, and I kind of like the riffs. This might not be right, but to me they had a little bit of like Black Album on Metallica riff sounding. They weren't fast. They were, very crunchy, melodic riffs. Definitely picked up on 9 Inch Nails. So something industrial right away. Got that. Yes. And then here's probably the surprise, Jonny. Like, I actually hear a little bit of Kraftwerk in them with the keyboard stuff they do. So a little bit of Autobahn or,
No, I can see that.
Yeah.
I tend to pick up definitely on early 9 Inch Nails. I would agree with you on that. Pretty Hate Machine, Broken especially, you can hear come through in this album. I would say stuff like Fear Factory, Meshuggah, Machine Head. I hear that too, just because of the guitar riffs mainly, because it's that very like machine gun chugga chugga style guitar. Um, as I said earlier, this is completely in German language, so they did do two of the songs they did English versions. I would say stray away from those. They do not sound as good as the actual German language version. And kind of what Scott was saying, alluding to the any kind of like growling or screaming or stuff like that. Rammstein, if you've never listened to them, it's metal. It's got that chugga guitar and really heavy, almost techno style drums. But the lead singer Till Lindemann he has a baritone voice, and it almost becomes operatic at times. It's a little over the top. So it's a very different listen. I highly encourage, like I said, this is a good entry point because it's got enough on it that's mainstream enough that it'll kind of catch your attention. Du Hast, you've probably heard the song. That was the one that came off this album, the one that broke in the States. But actually, it is You Have, and You Hate. You Hate is the English version. When they recorded Du Hast in English, it was You hate me. But in German, I guess it just doesn't sound as good. It sounds a little bit more metal if you hate than you have.
Right.
But I would honestly say, if you're listening to this, and Scott listened to it, I don't know if you remember the names of the songs or not. I'm going to try during this episode to kind of recommend my deep cuts off the albums. For this one, the title track, Sehnsucht, is the opener. Awesome track. Engel, which is German for angel, is also very good. It has a female vocal in the chorus that's actually quite nice. So it juxtaposes the metal sound really well. And then towards the end of the album, the song Spiel mit mir, which is Play With Me. I do not encourage looking up the lyrics to that song, but the song itself, it kind of rocks. The lyrics are, I will say that if you do not like questionable lyrics and lyrical content, this is not the band for you. When they talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that is 100% what this band is all about. And it can get a little, it can make a sailor blush. So, but Rammstein is my pick, number one for tonight.
Now, didn't you say the base you went to was Rammstein?
So the name of the base in Germany, Rammstein, it's down south near Kaiserslautern. The band is actually named after an incident that occurred at Ramstein Air Base, where there was a major catastrophe, a big plane wreck. A lot of people died back in the 80s. They named the band after that event in true metal fashion. It had to be something that was macabre and dark. So, but they misspelled the name. The name, so the base is R-A-M Stein. Rammstein is R-A-M-M, so it doesn't translate the same. It means ramming stone, which, again, going back to the sexual innuendo of the band, they're like, das ist cool, we will be Rammstein. So they went with that. So.
Wait, was Hindenburg taken? Oh, Hindenburg happened.
Well, I would say, Johnny, the first track was my favorite track on it.
It's good. And I got to see them live, and they play that song live, and it's killer. Du Hast is actually a killer song live, too. I got kind of tired of Du Hast over time, but their live show, I don't know how much they're actually going to tour in the States ever again, because they are getting up in age for a metal band. Their live show is phenomenal. If you like fire and loud noise, definitely go to a Rammstein show.
That's what Joe likes, so I can imagine Joe Williamson.
Joe would be into that
Rammstein concert.
He'd be interpreting the lyrics back to him.
I told him he should do it.
Yeah, let me read these lyrics.
I said, "Yeah, go."
I want to hear that.
Go study those lyrics, Joe. And I figured it'd take him 2 or 3 weeks to figure out they weren't in English. So
I'm gonna break this down for you.
All right, Jake, you're up next.
Let's do a little 1991. An amazing year for music. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. This album came out September 24th, 1991. Another huge album that my brother was totally into. This was also the first album. Let's get that set up.
Speaking of questionable lyrics.
Yeah, with John Frusciante, which first tenure with the band, first album, and his presence was felt immediately. His guitar sound, because this album really kind of went away from a lot of the more kind of heavier guitar riffs to, his playing. I mean, guy was a virtuoso. I think he was 21 when this album came out, and it's crazy because I think when I read a little bit about him, he has over 11 solo records, and he got with the Chili Peppers. Album came out. They toured up through 92. He left the band because he was just never good with handling fame and did not come back until 1998, which is crazy. I mean, he took a significant hiatus. And of course, we all know that's when Dave Navarro got in and they did One Hot Minute, which that was technically their next full studio record after this. This was 91. One Hot Minute was 95, I believe. And they had a bunch of compilations that came in, prior to that. So, but this album put them on the map. In the US, they did 7 million album sales. Worldwide, approximately 13 million. We all know the singles: Give It Away, Under the Bridge, Suck My Kiss, Breaking the Girl. The album peaked at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Chart positions as far as singles: Under the Bridge was number 2, Give It Away was number 1. And, obviously Rick Rubin had a huge hand in this, produced it. And this album is really what kind of put them on the map from what they all kind of really were known for. It's just a typical kind of funk band, which I love. Mother's Milk. I think Mother's Milk is a great record, but this record, again, kind of sentimental. My brother saw the Chili Peppers tour, and I believe the Cult, either the Peppers opened for the Cult or the Cult opened for the Chili Peppers. And I think it was right before Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out. So I think Zach saw them in 1990. Of course, my parents would not let me go at that time, which I really wanted to go because I liked the Cult so much. But this was a record that was in heavy play when I met my wife for the first time at 14. So it kind of takes me back to boarding school. So sentimental album, number 1 of 3, Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are all over the place on the Chili Peppers, and I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, they're really good songs, and this album is a really good record. And,
it's my favorite. I mean, it's still probably. I mean, I like Californication. I think it's a good record. I think anything with John Frusciante is really my favorite kind of genre of Chili Peppers. The earlier stuff, Mother's Milk's got some good hits.
Yeah, I think
But
definitely when Frusciante's in the band, I think they're better.
I agree.
And when you think about, like, one thing I can give them, like, my criticism of them is, especially in the latter part, a lot of the songs sound the same. I like them all, Dan in California, and all that, but that sounds like, what, Hey Snow or whatever. I mean, they sound the same.
That's what makes Frusciante,
but what I will give
is that
them,
his riffs. Frusciante's riffs are just, they're catchy.
well,
they're just
the technical ability of both
He's amazing.
Frusciante, Chad Smith, and Flea,
Oh,
like,
dude,
all
hands down.
bands would like to be that good on their
Hell yes.
instruments. I mean, maybe somebody like Rush is,
Yeah.
but they're not my favorite band, but I can give them respect when they got it right. And I think Rick Rubin really, like, that is Rick Rubin's gift, is he's not this talented.
He finds a
musician.
way, man.
He brings it out of these people. He gets them focused on, like, I think he sees their vision and then starts channeling them towards their own vision. And he's a very talented producer. At first, I thought, Rick Rubin, he doesn't have any chops, really, but look what he did for the Beastie Boys. I mean, he has a track record that's amazing.
He's a visionary as a
Yeah.
producer. Like, he just
Yeah.
somehow he sees stuff that I guess other artists don't see. Upset Some. There's a whole thing on YouTube with the Black Crows and kind of talked about that whole thing and kind of what he was wanting them to kind of name the band. Dude, I mean, it's some crazy stuff. I got a little Bruce Hornsby in them. Sound the same.
All right,
This is
Scott.
from a blues guy.
Scott, we'll have you jump do your next one
I'm
or your
next.
first one. Yeah, you're next. I knew he was going to mention Bruce Hornsby.
Jones got me all out of sorts here. All right, so this next record I'm going to do, I was debating which one I want to do first. So I'll just get this out of the way, and I'm going to preface this with, again, I am not an Elvis person. The total collection of Elvis I own is this record twice, because I also have
The Mo-Fi. One Step.
the one step for this, because it is a amazing sounding record. And this is the MOV press of it. And I have a CD like Elvis Essential 30, like everybody's probably has that. That's it. That's the only Elvis I have. I'm not a big Elvis fan. But this record, what I am a big fan of is Memphis Soul. And this record, at its heart, is Memphis Soul and gospel. It has a church sound to it. Everything you love about those Stax artists, this isn't on Stax, but it's here. And this, Elvis went away for a while, did all those movies, right? And all those really, there wasn't a lot of tremendous amount of effort musically put into all those soundtracks, but he had some hits off those soundtracks. But this was his big musical return. He had the big return special in '68. He was working on this album in Memphis, and he really went for that soul sound on it. And the great thing, and why you hold this up, and why you want to, I know these records are expensive, but the one good thing about this is this version includes Suspicious Minds, which was recorded during this session. So it's got In the Ghetto, but this is a drop and needle, walk away, just enjoy the experience. If you're listening on a halfway decent system, the quality of how it was recorded and mixed will blow you away. It sounds amazing. But the story, I'm sure Colonel Parker did some great things for Elvis, but this is one piece where he was just wrong. He heard Suspicious Minds and the content of that song thematically, and said, "Oh no, that's bad for your image. You can't have a song about cheating, especially on your comeback." So they left it off of that record. Somehow, as DJs often did back in the day, they got their hands on a 45 of that, and some DJ started playing it, and it took off. And clearly, if it was on this record officially, it would have been the biggest song. In the Ghetto was a pretty big hit too. But that's always been my favorite Elvis song, was Suspicious Minds. And the fact, and I'm not surprised after I learned it was actually recorded during the session. If you listen to it, you could hear, oh yeah, it has the same sound. But I don't want to downplay the quality of the rest of the tracks. They sound great. And all I can say is, if you're a fan of Memphis Soul, you would love this record. It's a soul record at its heart. So Elvis in Memphis added to the 500. Check it out.
Cool. Awesome. You said you could play it and walk away. Is that a 45 speed?
Yeah, you can only walk away for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, like you can't walk away that far. All right, just making sure. All right.
Don't go too far. No,
Don't go too far.
When you put one of these on, any of these analog productions or mobile fidelity one steps, you are listening. That's all you're doing, because why spend the money on this and walk around the house and clean the house? Like, it's meant to set in your music listening position, listen to your system, and how good. Again, another stereo investment reaffirming record that will make you feel good about how much you spent on your stereo. So,
all right, cool. Speaking of the record that you just got to sit and listen to and just enjoy is Nina Simone Sings the Blues. The first time I listened to this, it just blew my mind, and I'm like, wow, I need this, and I got it. This came out in 1967. It wasn't any big chart buster or anything like that, but it's definitely an essential. Um, Again, just like many um, black artists in the day, there's a lot of political themes in the background. Like one of the songs was Backlash Blues. It was written by Langston Hughes um, for her, and it's a commentary on, you know, of segregation and stuff at the time. And again, great album. It also has, is it on this album? I keep losing track here. This was her first album with Philips Records. Um, there's a couple another song that's is political. What is the one it's called? Maybe it's not on this album. I'm losing my mind. But again, just stream it, listen to it, and you'll be amazed. Um, she's more like a jazzy singer, but this just
Yeah, it's like
is
vocal jazz. I have that record. It's another record that sounds really good too.
yeah, and this is a music on vinyl pressing of it.
I
But there's
think
some
Miss Retta.
covers.
I think Miss Retta is a Nina
Yeah.
Simone fan too.
Yeah, no, yeah. Retta, my
Yeah.
wife, yeah, she's a big Nina Simone fan. That particular album, not in the collection right now, but she's got a lot of Nina in the collection. You can't go wrong with any of her stuff. So if what
She
Sean is saying as a good entry point, and take Sean at his word, that's probably a good one to get started in. It's just one that we need to add to our shelf.
because I never really listened to. I was never, the old style vocalist. I just kind of, and then I put it on. I'm like, I need more of her, whatever she's singing.
There's
whatever
so
album
much
she has.
emotion in her voice when she sings. It's not just singing a song. It's feeling a song. It's
You feel
bleeding
it.
a song.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, she might get another one or two in the list because I Put a Spell on You is
Yeah.
Another
still
good
out there
one.
too. That's a great record.
But this is where I started with her. It just
Hmm.
this was my gateway into her, and I want to listen to more. And I think you guys will too. All right, so now we're back to Jonny.
Oh, okay. So like I said, I was going to do one metal album, one 90s album, and then one classic. So we're going to the 90s. We're going to what I consider to be the best year of music releases, 1994. So this one, I know that there's been a long-standing rule here, and I think we're breaking that rule tonight with no live albums on the list. But I was like, well, since we're able to do live albums, I might as well choose the group live. Throwing Copper is 1994. This is their sophomore effort. This album is the one that propelled them into the mainstream. Now you're going to have singles on here like Lightning Crashes, I Alone, Selling the Drama, All Over You. This album is honestly, when people say, oh, it's a cover to cover, most of the time that's questionable. This absolutely is a cover to cover record. When I first got this, I'd heard, I think I Alone was the first song that I heard, saw the video on MTV. And if you've never seen the video for I Alone, I highly encourage go revisit it. If you don't remember it, or if you've never seen it, go watch it. It's the only video that I can remember where all the band members are doing something except for the drummer, who's just standing in the background, just kind of swaying back and forth and banging his head because I guess he forgot to bring his drum set to the studio that day. This album, immediately when I put it on, and you have this droning sound and this haunting guitar, and then Ed Kowalczyk comes in with his very distinctive voice with just, when all that's left to do is reflect on what's been done. I'm like, what am I listening to? Listening to a classic album. The Damn It Otter Creek
Damn
is
It
the
Otter
first,
Creek.
is the
Great
first of the
opening
deep
song.
cuts that I'll talk about on this.
Yeah.
Fantastic song. I think that the closing track, White Discussion, is also a very underrated song from this album. And my favorite track on this record was not actually on the 94 US pressing, or else I would have an original pressing of this, but it doesn't have Pillar of Davidson on the original press. To me, that is by far the standout track on this album. Yeah, the singles are great. The fact that I guess Jake's family gets a shout out in this record because the Weavers live down the street from me.
That's right.
Shit
brother.
Town is a great song too. There's not I could just keep going on and on about this record. It's that good. Again, released in 1994. It was produced by Jerry Harrison of the Talking Heads, along with some production from the band too. But when you're tagging that name onto it, it's kind of a big deal. Made it to number 1 in the U.S., Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. Yeah. Over 9.7 million copies sold worldwide. 8 million of that in the U.S. alone. It's been credited as one of the forerunners of the post-grunge movement. Mm-hmm. So as grunge was dying off, you have bands like Better Than Ezra, eventually like Third Eye Blind. Live was part of the first wave of those bands to come out. And amazingly enough, even back in the 90s, when these songs were really popular, you'd ask somebody, the song would come up, Lightning Crashes. They know every single word of the song. And you're like, do you know who the band is? And I have no idea. Because nobody knew who Live was by name, just by the songs. They're just like, oh, it's the bald-headed guy. So, and they weren't talking about Scott. They were talking about Ed. So
I wish I could sing like him. He's got a heck of a voice.
He does. I actually got to see when he was going, the band had broken up and he was doing like an anniversary tour for this album, singing it every song in an acoustic setting in probably like a 300 person. I saw him in where's the Naval Academy? It's in Annapolis. I went up to Annapolis and saw him in a bar.
Ramshead.
And Ed played the whole thing. He had a little backing band, but he played the entire album acoustically in about a 300 person venue, and it was amazing. This record is phenomenal. I can't speak enough about it. Throwing Copper from Live, part of the 500 now. You absolutely need to go check this one out.
That's a good pick, Johnny. I was going to ask you who produced it because I kept thinking, wow, they made now don't get me wrong, I love the song Beauty of Grey, but they made a huge sound jump between that record and Throwing Copper. I mean,
yes.
it's like there was 2 unreleased records in there, and then they came out with that. Like, I was really shocked. It's a great record. It's one of my favorite 90s records. Just really solid stuff.
Yeah, their debut that you're talking about, Mental Jewelry, definitely has a more like independent sound to it.
Yeah,
and I think because Jake's talked about the first 3. I don't think it's a first 3 with Live, but I think there's definitely a trifecta. Mm-hmm. And I think Throwing Copper starts that trifecta, and then Secret Samadhi and Distance to Here.
I agree with you. Yeah, Mental Jewelry had Pale on the Riverside, which is a good song. There were a couple of good songs on the first album, but I think Throwing Copper onwards, so 2, 3, and 4.
I'll disagree with that. I think Birds of Prey is my second favorite.
Birds of Prey is a good record. I won't discredit it at all, but I think their trifecta to me are those 3. So,
and that, hey Scott, that could be that could just be kind of an age thing, right?
Is that an age joke?
No, I'm actually being serious. Like, those 3 albums that came out, I mean, that's basically from 94 to like 99-ish, 98, 99.
98, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, God, when I hear Throwing Copper, I'm thinking about sitting in Miss Chirac's science class, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of class, skip class, and, go head to the gym for a few hours. Every time I put on that record,
yeah, and I think there's always I don't think it's an intentional bias, but there's this weight given to like where you're at in your life. We talked about that.
Yeah,
man. Late junior high, high school, early college, you're just environmentally going to be biased towards some of those records because you had life events happening around.
You had life events. It's just stuff that,
I
like those peak years.
I love songs off those other 2 out, like Dolphins Cry. That's what a rocking song, but I just as an album, I thought to me Birds of Prey, they like 7 or 8 songs deep on Birds of Prey for me.
Yeah, it's a good record.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of, we were talking about kind of peak. This album is, that I'm going to mention next is right up the line for Scott. Scott was about 20 when this album came out, and this is The Doors' "L.A. Woman," which came out April 19th, 1971. So that puts Scott's birth years 1951, y'all, getting up there. But he ages like a fine wine, that man. First and foremost, I was never a huge Doors fan. I didn't get into the Doors until much later in life. I loved the movie, thought Val Kilmer nailed it spot on. But for me, I never understood them really that much, and I really didn't start listening to them probably till I was about 25. And I loved their first album, and I really enjoy "L.A. Woman." Now, Scott, I could already tell you, at some point we'll probably preview Morrison Hotel because I think that's Scott's favorite. But "L.A. Woman," I don't know. I guess I liked it because the songs that I dug really on this record, going to be "Lover Madly," "Riders on the Storm" was a huge. "L.A. Woman," great song, which is cool because this really kind of, in a lot of the stuff that I read about the making of the record at the time, Jim Morrison was pretty much, I think, like late 68, 60, going into 69. He was kind of done, and I think was, thinking about leaving the band, and Ray Manzarek pretty much convinced him, like, hang on, just hang tight, and kind of stuck it through. And I think really Jim Morrison, what he wanted to do on this record is I think he really wanted to kind of get down to kind of his blues roots. And this was a big, this was a band effort, this record, right? They all had a hand in producing the album. It was produced also by Bruce Botnick, co-produced and engineered. Paul Rothchild originally was producing it, but left. I think there was a lot of friction during the record, and he kind of hit the road. But this was a full-on band effort as far as writing, producing. It did 3 million sales in the U.S., and I think worldwide it doesn't really give an accurate number, but some say I think within like the low millions. So let's just say probably 5 to 6 million worldwide. It did peak at number 9 on the Billboard 200. And again, Lover Madly was number 11, Riders on the Storm, number 14 of Hot 100. What's crazy is that "L.A. Woman" isn't even, like, I don't think, I'd be interested to know where it charted, but it definitely wasn't in the top 20, which is probably one of my favorite songs. And what's sad about this is that this album came out in April of 71. And the sad thing is that within 3 months, actually less than 3 months, Jim Morrison was dead. Went to Paris, and I think went out there, and they had talks of getting back in the studio. This record, I think, really kind of heightened Jim Morrison's want to get back and create and make more music. So, like, things kind of ended off in a pretty good note, but he wanted to go to Paris, and he did. And within 3 months, he was gone. And you got to watch this YouTube video. Ray Manzarek talks about it, but no one, I think, within the band, and I can't remember if it was one of the producers or an agent or a manager, but somebody went to Paris to go and identify. I don't think anyone ever physically saw him. So it's kind of cool hearing the take of them and talking about that, like, whether they actually thought, because people thought it was a joke initially when he had died. And when they found out, I think also thought it was some type of hoax. So there's a lot of mystery, right, that's kind of surrounded with that. And it's very sad to know, like, this is the last record that he officially did. Now, they did do an American Prayer, and I think that came out in like 78, which, they took tracks and put on that record after he passed away. But this was the first Doors record that I ever put on. And I remember I was in my crappy, small little studio apartment, and I had a little record store in Hollywood that I would go to. And at that time, all I did, I bought CDs, and they had just thousands upon thousands of used CDs. And this was a great little stretch of road off Franklin Avenue in Hollywood, California. And I just kind of came across it, and there it was for like $4.95. And I figured, maybe it's time to really give the album a thorough listen. I knew Riders on the Storm and LA Woman because we've heard them all on the radio. But I remember when I got home and put it on and just kind of sat down in my little 500 square foot crappy studio apartment. And man, I was kind of on a journey and was like, you know what? Where the hell? Like, why didn't I give the Doors a chance earlier when I was getting into Zeppelin and the Who and of course Pink Floyd and the Beatles, which are, my bands. But it just kind of cemented, at least in my mind, like these guys are legit. And I really would have been interested to know what they would have come up with if they continued making records well into the 70s. So that's my number 2 pick, LA Woman.
So I haven't been able to collaborate this story, but allegedly my mother met Jim Morrison. Her friend, because back in the day they would play like dance halls and stuff, and they would hire a local band as the opening act, and her friend's band was the opening act, and she met Jim Morrison, and the only thing she can remember from him is that he smelled really, really bad, but that's all she can remember about him. And I'm still,
David Crosby just was like, he was a dork. That's what David Crosby called him.
The radio, what's that?
all right, so Scott, you're up next.
Okay. I have a 90s record too, but I'm going to save it for last. I'm going to go with this 2018 release, Leon Bridges, Good Thing. Now, so there's probably a few people out there that know Leon Bridges and like, oh, why that record? I actually like this one better, and I'm going to explain why. Coming Home, his debut record, caught a lot of people's attention. There it is without the shiny stuff on it. I think if you ask the average fan, they'd say, oh, Coming Home is his best record. I have some problems with it. The songs are great. I don't like the fact that they tried a little too hard on the neo soul, because this is neo soul. Like, this is old school. You guys know I'm a fan of Motown in Memphis. This is neo soul. So think Amy Winehouse, Yola, Alabama Shakes, Black Pumas. I like all that stuff that has that sound. So, but they tried a little too hard to include intentionally overmodulating the mic a couple of times, which just drove me crazy. I hear that. I was like, why did they do that? They only did that to sound like it was coming from the 1950s, and that just annoyed me. And I actually think this one, the songs are, as a complete set, are better than Coming Home. So again, I think every record I pick tonight, you can drop the needle and you'll enjoy everything on this. And this is a smooth album. It's kind of laid back. It's got a vibe to it. So if you like that kind of stuff, you're going to love Leon Bridges. If you don't know who Leon Bridges is, I think probably the most popular song is, and I cannot pronounce the group he did it with, but that Texas Sun song. People have probably heard that. So 2018, it did. He did get nominated for a Grammy, R&B, best R&B record for this. So critically acclaimed record, and certainly worth your time. Now he's done 2 albums since these, and I'm not a big fan of those. I like the first 2 a lot better than the next 2, but they have good songs too. So if you like some of that Memphis sound.
Better than Gold Diggers?
Yeah, I have that. It's okay. A couple good songs. I think it's a little too modern sounding for me. But the album did debut at number 3 on the 200. So he has a name, Grammy nominated, debuting at 3. This album shipped 60,000 units the first week, but I still think there's a lot of people out there that don't know who Leon Bridges is. So again, if you're a fan of, you know, Marvin Gaye or Otis Redding or any of that, Leon Bridges will be a modern artist that you can truly appreciate.
Cool. Cool.
Shaq.
I guess I'm up next. Um, and I'm going to introduce some more jazz. Um, I'm not a huge jazz expert or anything like that, but as I'm learning to listen to some jazz, I'm trying to share that with a level. People have asked what are those entry level jazz to really get an idea of what a jazz album is. Um, and I chose this week Mingus Ahum by Charles Mingus. This is his first album on Columbia. Came out in, let me guess, 67. I don't know. Let's see. 1959. It didn't have big sales, but I don't think many jazz albums that's just not how they work. They didn't have chart busting jazz albums typically. Um, so the songs on here was good, like Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, Fables of Faubus, Boogie Stop Shuffle. Goodbye Pork Pie Hat was actually a tribute to Lester Young, who had just recently passed away before this album came
That's
out.
such a good song too.
Yeah. And the other one I said was Fables of Faubus. Faubus was the governor of Arkansas who didn't believe in integrating the schools. So another one that has, the very political for the times. So whoever says artists aren't political, they've always been political. Um, just a fun record to listen to. So that is my essential jazz record for this week.
That's a good one. That's one of my favorites. I love that record.
Yeah. All right. So not a lot to say.
Derek Camp.
Yeah, you're up next, sir.
Okay. So, said I was going to do a metal, a 90s, and what I consider to be a classic. So, going with an album that was released in November of 1971.
Oh,
That
71
really-
great year, by the way.
Really didn't get this album did not really get a lot of recognition until about 73, though. So this was kind of a slow boil back when it came out. I guess I wasn't around for that in 71, but I have definitely grown to appreciate this. I was a late adopter for this artist, someone that I discovered later on in life, not someone I've listened to as long as I have, like the group behind me. However, the group that is all over my wall had a lot of really high praise for this particular artist, said it was their favorite American artist back around 68, 69. If you don't know who I'm talking about already,
That's Nielsen.
I'm talking about Harry Nilsson.
That is Nielsen.
And this is Nilsson Schmilsson.
Phenomenal record, Johnny. Hell of a pick, brother.
This record is so unique. The second you drop the needle on this, and this is a 45 RPM. So like Scott was talking earlier, it's one that you just drop the needle and walk away, but you can't go very far because I think there's like 3 songs on each side of this. But a phenomenal record cover to cover. Harry Nilsson was so talented, such a good vocalist. And it's definitely, he goes through a lot of different moods and genres on just this one album. And I think it's less than 35 minutes long. There's so much packed into just a half hour of music on this. Produced by Richard Perry. This went to number 3 in the United States. It won the Grammy for Best Male Pop Vocal for the song Without You. So you might remember that from Badfinger. If you're a child of the 90s like I am, Mariah Carey also covered that song, and it was a hit. So great song. So in his version, I feel, having heard those 3 versions, I kind of lean towards Nilsson's version of that song. It was nominated for 3 other Grammys, including album of the year. And this was in 1973. Now, again, I said this was released in 71, but didn't start getting recognized by the Academy until 73. Do you know what album this lost out to in 1973 for album of the year?
Ooh, 73.
And it's got a connection to one of these guys.
Abbey Road.
What was that, Scott?
Abbey Road.
No,
it's
I'm gonna say so 73.
I've got him thinking.
I'm just
everybody.
gonna throw this out here. I'm just gonna guess. I'm gonna say Goodnight Vienna.
Concert for Bangladesh.
Okay.
Won album of the year in 1973. George Harrison and Friends beat out Nilsson Schmilsson. Regardless, it still sold over 1 million copies worldwide, 500,000 in the U.S. Those numbers, compared to what we've talked about earlier, I actually feel are really low for an album that was this good. I figured it would have sold a lot more than that. So 500,000 in the U.S. To me, the standout tracks on this record, again, the whole thing, cover to cover, is amazing. But I would say if you don't listen to anything else on this record, you listen to Jump Into the Fire. Absolutely. Gotta Get Up. The very first track on this is just, it's so bouncy
It's catchy.
and feel good.
Yeah,
it's such a good song. So Nilsson used to write jingles, which is why his writing ability, it catches you immediately. It's, if you're a jingle writer, you kind of have to have that innate ability. And also it might be overplayed and it's kind of goofy, but I love the song Coconut, which is also on this record. The musicians that are on this album. So you have Jim Keltner, you have Klaus Vormann, Herbie Flowers, Jim Gordon, Bobby Keys, Jimmy Webb. It's a who's who of musicians of the early 70s on this record. Nilsson knew how to pick them.
Man, they all hung with each other. I mean, they were all tight.
And
all helped each other out.
And you can tell, listen, this album, it's even the songs that are really sparse, like Early in the Morning. If you just want to hear just a really good vocal performance, listen to Early in the Morning. It's really just him and I think like a Hammond organ or something. It's very stripped down, but it's so good. There's nothing wrong about this album at all. This is another one that I feel is a cover to cover. Nilsson Schmilsson from 1971.
You know what makes me feel good about that is, and we all sell records too, and you get a record like that, and it's not in the mainstream. You don't hear people talking about it all the time, but you get it and you put it in your store, and then when somebody comes buys it, I'm like, hell yes! It just reaffirms that the people, our customers, they know music too. If you bring good music, they're going to buy it. You need to check that album out, Stacy. Concert for Bangladesh. That's an interesting,
good live album.
Good live album, yeah.
That's a good one. So my third pick of the night, I'm gonna just go out here on a limb, and just say I didn't give Scott too much hell on his top five this particular night. But there was a mention of an album, I think, that was within his top five that I questioned. And that's really because I hadn't heard it in so long, and I was probably about 11 years old when it came out. This album actually came out on my wife's birthday, August 29th, 1989. So she turned 12 the day this record came out. And I know that I'm a first threer, but this was number 21 in the U.S. Album number 21 in the U.S., number 19 in the U.K. And this was technically their comeback album. And this record is pure fire, okay? Not the first three, number 21. And this is Rolling Stones' Steel Wheels. Y'all, I had very long conversations with Scott about this, to the point where I was like, Scott, I can't find Steel Wheels anywhere. And he's like, well, Jake, I got a copy. I'll sell it to you. And I bought it from him, sent it over, and I can't get enough of it. And there's just something about this record. I don't know what it is. Obviously, they had a couple of bombs in the early 80s that did not fare well. There was a lot of tension between Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. There was a lot of legal crap that was going on during this time. They obviously all kind of came out with their um, solo records, which I think I put it up, but was listening to it, before we went live, which is Keith Richards' solo effort, Talk is Cheap, which I love that record. I love it so much. Not so much on Mick solo stuff, but there's something unique about Keith Richards' voice that I love. It's just raspy and raw. And I mean, you can basically, when he sings, you can hear the multiple cartons of cigarettes just coming out of his lungs, and into the air. But this was basically a comeback together as a band. They put everything aside, their differences, and this record it was extremely fresh, and it it thumps. I mean, it as soon as it kicks off, it's energized. You could feel it. You could feel the band coming back into this, just totally revitalized and energetic and ready to go. This was the last full length album Bill Wyman was on. I know the album after that, I think he was on 2 studio tracks, but full length album wise, this was his last um, effort. And let's talk about singles. Mixed Emotions, great song, which was the song that I have always remembered. But I totally forgot about Rockin' a Hard Place. Dude, it's a great song. And I'm going to use the word, Scott, absolute banger. Again, it punches, and then you've got Almost Hear You Sigh.
Oh,
There
that's
is
such a beautiful song.
such a great song, but there's one underrated song on here, and that is Keith Richards' Can't Be Seen, which I love. Again, I love a lot of the stuff that Keith Richards sings because his voice is very unique. It's not the greatest, but there's just something about it. It's just got feel. It's got soul. It has pain. It has a little bit of everything in it. And it was platinum in the U.S. Sold 1 million copies. Estimated 3 to 4 million copies worldwide. Um, Album peaked at number 3. The singles, let's see, Hot 100. Mixed Emotions was number 5. Rockin' a Hard Place, number 23. Almost Hear You Sigh, number 50. I'll be honest with you. Rockin' a Hard Place, I actually like more than Mixed Emotions. I mean, I think they're both great songs. But just something about it, man. This really kind of marked their comeback. And I think this album is what really kind of propelled them, because they went on the Steel Wheels tour. Scott, how many years did they tour that? Like 2 years?
Yeah,
You're the
it
Stones
was a
guy.
big record for them, And I
It
think
was huge.
artistically, in my opinion, this is their best work since Some Girls.
So what? Some Girls was 78, 79?
78.
So right. So you're talking 10, 11 years. But it just makes you realize like how hard it is, man, to be a band, to be together that long, to go through all of the turmoil, the split ups, the legal battles, get back in the studio when, you know, the naysayers have written you off, and you go in and you basically come back and you put an album like this together. I'm telling you, okay. I actually listened to Scott when he did the top 5 and I saw it. It piqued my interest, bought it, listened to it, and was like, hell yes, I might give him crap and will always give him crap on the Van Halen top 5. Biggest debacle of top 5s of all time. But Still Wheels.
Wait till tonight.
Oh, God, maybe. But Still Wheels, I play it probably twice a week. I'm completely addicted to it.
Yeah,
And
if you didn't like I had that when it came out, I was just like, I'm always on the Stones, and they had some disappointing releases. I'd even say Tattoo You. I was disappointed at. Yeah, I had Start Me Up and Waiting on a Friend, but it was a pretty weak album. It was Leftovers album basically.
yeah,
But this record, sometimes I think the Stones were struggling to write something meaningful. In the early days they wrote tons of it, but
well, I
I
think
like
Mixed
Mixed
Emotions
Emotions
had to
because
do with their relationship, right?
yeah, Mixed Emotions is really about him and Keith, and I think they're coming. You know what? Like we may have our problems, but we're great together.
Yeah.
And I think it changed the whole attitude of how they went about this record. It was truly a Jagger and Richards. And it shows up in the quality and depth of the songs on there. Like you mentioned, Keith Richards, the other Keith Richards song, "Slipping Away," great,
I'm
great
telling
song.
you.
Last
Now,
song on the record.
I want to tell y'all this. If we've got time, I got to see if I can find it because I do want to mention.
So what is that record like? The average price for a reissue or an issue of that?
Well, there's a reissue that's out right now. Like you could go to the record store and get a reissue. I think between $25 to $30.
Yeah.
You can find NOG probably. I would say maybe $20-$25. Like a real good copy of it. You could probably find something a little bit.
Yeah,
less.
you could, good reseller. You could probably find one for $10 to $15, good condition. I think the one I sent Jake was a used one, but I think it was VG Plus. Is this nice condition?
Where is it?
And can I also say that Gonzo's theory of the first three doesn't apply to any one of his favorite artists. So I don't know where that.
It's like one of the worst developed and substantiated theories in the history of
It's a phenomenal
podcasting.
theory. So I'm just going to throw this in here. So this is Keith's solo album. This is pre Steel Wheels. I think this came out in '88.
Mhm.
And don't sleep on Talk is Cheap. Right? Like, get it. It's a great record. There's some real good songs on here. And I kind of hear a little bit, when you listen to this record and then you go and you listen to Steel Wheels, man, you see how big Keith Richards' influence is on the sound, on the Rolling Stones sound. He's all over the place. I mean, even to the bass riffs and stuff that he
you almost could walk away listening to his solo stuff thinking, well, he might be 55-60% of the Rolling Stone sound.
Easy. Well, I mean, in the earlier days, late 60s, early 70s, right? Like I would always read things about how they would just sit around and wait for Keith to come in and, come up with a riff and basically go from there. So I've always felt that Keith was really the glue. I think he's probably the most important. I mean, obviously Mick Jagger with his voice and his presence, but I think you don't have Keith Richards, you got nothing.
I'm gonna have to check for Terry and see if I might have a sealed copy.
Well, you never told me that, Scott.
Well, you got the OG. That's better. That's the OG right there.
So going back before
Hauser's here.
Before Sean, what up, Hauser? Before Sean goes in, the theory of the first three is a legit theory. It's just coincidence that a few albums that we've talked about, mind you, this is album number 21, not 1, 2, or 3. Number 21, U.S. release, 19 UK. This is just one exception to the rule. But usually, first 3 albums, for the most part, are the best.
Okay.
But again, I'll say this to my grave. It's not always the case.
It's never the case on yours, though.
There have been some picks where it has been. I can't hear
the
Jonny.
first 3,
There
but
it is.
I think at some point in an artist's career, there's like a string of 3 in a row that are usually grouped, and I consider to be like those are sometimes it's the first 3, but sometimes it takes later on down the road. But to me, there's always like that grouping of 3 that is just
Yeah.
killer.
Yeah, and you have to remember, like when I made the statement originally, I said, and I quote myself, I'm a first three records kind of guy because usually the first three records, for the most part, tend to be the best.
Usually.
Well, I totally respect Jake. You're doing the true American thing. Whether it's true or not, just keep saying it.
Double down.
Enough people will believe it.
I mean, what are we on episode 14? I think I've been talking about it at least once every episode.
And we
or
proved you
at least
wrong every
5
episode.
onward. So it'll be talked about in episode 855.
One of the most flawed theories ever laid on the internet.
Look, hey, it's okay. I'm a flawed individual, but there is some validity, even though it might be a small percentage in your world. In this world, it's significant.
I might know a guy that can do a YouTube video that talks about trifectas, so maybe we'll see that soon.
Yeah.
Well, the next album I have may be a trifecta. I don't know, but
we can help you with that.
But this album, I love this album, and then I was doing research on it. I'm like, at the time when it came out, most of the critics crapped on this band, thinking it was just disjointed. It wasn't cohesive. It was lackluster. It was just. But then you look at the album, and there's some songs on here that are just amazing. So it's a half live, half studio album, and it was really it was not well received, but thankfully in the general public it sold over 14 million copies for something
I love
that was
Rattle and Hum.
I love
it
too.
sold 14 million copies for that critics really kind of dragged through the mud. Joshua Tree was 25 million. This one was, it was only 14. And even because of the lackluster reception of this, actually drove them to really reinvent themselves. And you get that whole different sound of the 90s. A Tongue Baby is the one after this. But this one has Desire, which was their first number one UK hit was Desire. How would you imagine? You would think that it's
not Sunday Bloody Sunday.
No, nothing until Desire. This also was the first album in the UK. It had the record for 360,000 sales in the first week, and which it had the record for UK sales. Do you know what band, Jake, beat them out for 360K in the first week?
What year? 88.
But it was after 88. So yeah, I know you've seen them recently and you cried.
Oasis?
What, Oasis?
Oasis, yeah.
I did not cry. My best friend cried. I was
blubbering like an idiot.
Those tears. I was like, I love you, brother.
So we have Angel in Harlem, which was basically a homage to Billie Holiday, which that song I just love, especially the wording at the beginning of the song is just amazing. You have Love Rescue Me, which was with Bob Dylan. And there was actually a version where Bob Dylan sang most of it, and Bob asked them not to release it. So there's a great sounding Love Rescue Me. But he said because the Traveling Wolf, I don't know why, but for the Traveling Wilburys, please don't put that song on the album. So they didn't. There's also, that was recorded at Sun, the original Sun Studios, and When Love Comes to Town with B.B. King. Great covers.
Great, yeah.
Great songs. All I Want Is You. Then there is covers like Helter Skelter, Along the Watchtower. And then you also have Still Haven't Found What You're Looking For, Pride in the Name of Love. I mean, the thing is stacked. And I remember this more than Joshua Tree. I mean, if you were watching MTV at the time, they would just hit videos one after another.
They had like a movie of it.
Yeah, they also did a movie.
Too.
And then it went over budget and Paramount bought the rights to it. And then they produced the rest for the movie. But yeah, it's live performances here and there. So that kind of coincides with the album. But yeah, over 14 million worldwide.
You know what I love about that choice, Sean, is, you said something that just, it like made me think. because this album really, they kind of went back to like the blues roots.
Yeah, they went to
Oh
Memphis
man, I
and
mean, they went all in.
South. Yeah.
And you are right. Like for whatever reason, I don't know, some critics, just were all over it. And you go from that to Octung Baby, a complete, which was going to be my pick for the evening, but I sold the one copy that I had, so I had to do an audible. But think about if you two would have stayed at Rattle and Hum and really kind of went that route, as opposed to the more, kind of electronic Octung Baby. I mean, gosh, it sold what, like 14, 15 million copies?
It's an amazing
Yeah,
record too.
great
Amazing
record. But I love Joshua Tree. I love Rattle and Hum. Here we go with trifecta: Joshua Tree, Rattle and Hum, and Octung Baby. But Joshua Tree and Rattle and Hum are probably my two favorite U2 records of all time.
Okay.
I loved where they were
Well,
going.
I think that support.
trio.
Well,
But it's mid.
It's mid.
there's an album in between. There's an album in between, isn't there?
No, it's Joshua Tree,
No, it's Joshua Tree, Rattle
and
and
then
Hum,
Octung
and
Baby.
Octung Baby.
Okay, so that supports Johnny's theory more than your theory. Like it might not be it might be three, but I agree in this case that I think those are their three strongest records overall. And like Hauser, I love. I never got it, but I always. I guess maybe I try to find ways to marginalize people I don't agree with. So when that came out, and some critics, a lot of what I read was like, oh, it's so pretentious for them to do this.
I don't think so.
I was like, you're a critic. Is there anything more pretentious than
Absolutely.
a critic? I mean, sometimes you just love the music, and I've never understood like a lot of the younger, like I hear a lot of younger listeners like criticizing you too, and all I can say, if you were alive in my day, and I was in high school, and the radio came on, and you heard New Year's Day, you just heard a groundbreaking band. Like nobody sounded like that. And they like I don't know I don't understand the criticism of U2. I don't get it. They're one of the greatest.
I'll say this, Scott. I'll say kudos to them for expanding and going out of the comfort zone. I'll say that for any band. I'll say that for Radiohead. I'll say that for Coldplay. Now Coldplay's first three records were great. Well, first four, but I'm always going to give a band credit for thinking outside the box and wanting to. Any band can write off the success of whatever their breakthrough album is, whether it's their first album, their fifth album, whatever. You could take the safe bet and just ride that success and do a couple of albums and make the songs all sound the same. Like, Joe loves to listen to. He's a huge Hornsby fan. And you could just, take the checks. But I have a lot of respect for those that say, you know what, it's not about that. It's about the music, and expand and not really care what the critics think.
Because after I had chose this, I was reading up on it. I'm going, am I remembering this record right? Because it was just really bad, and I'm like, no, I remember those songs are amazing.
Those three are my favorite.
Amazing songs on this album.
I think the populace has spoken on this. Again, you get a good copy of Rattle and Hum in your store, gone. Somebody buys it. Like, they're just not right about that.
Well, critics, right? A lot of critics, especially those that sit here and criticize albums, album reviews. A lot of the critics are musicians that probably at some point in time wanted to be musicians and they failed. And somehow they managed to work their way into that realm. And that's their job, is to go in and talk about music. And a lot of the times they criticize it. It's the same thing with movie critics. Any critic. I've always felt that way. Whether they aspired to be an athlete, a musician, an artist, what have you, but never made it, but somehow still managed to kind of hang around And maybe they write those bad reviews because at the end of the day, they're probably jealous as hell that they never had the opportunity to be able to be in a position to do that. So I think a lot of it sometimes is jealousy,
And I like
bitterness.
Hauser's comment. It really does make sense. I mean, they really, from the beginning to the till now, has changed drastically.
Hauser, yeah, I agree with that. But I think, I don't have to. I wasn't big on Zooropa. I wasn't big on a lot of the later stuff. But the same thing could be said about Rush. That's what I love about Rush. That's what I love about U2 and some of these bands. I appreciate the journey. I appreciate taking that chance and expanding and going out of that comfort zone. It might be a hit record. It might not be.
Well,
But
I don't know if anyone else, but my phone, every once in a while, my car, I'll turn my car on and connect to my phone. That free U2 album will somehow start playing on
yeah,
my.
I mean,
I don't know
yeah,
if anyone else has had that happen to them.
it was on mine.
Yeah, and it's still somehow on my phone. Raised by Wolves starts playing. Like what? Yeah. So there are bad. They had bad ones, but this is not one of them.
No, it's not. It's phenomenal.
They did get 10 million for that. So
They got paid. But I would have loved to see the continuation. Like what if maybe they weren't panned by critics to make them go in a completely different direction? What if they hung around and kind of stayed with that, kind of Memphis, kind of blues? I liked what they were doing. And maybe they would have done another record like that, and maybe not. Maybe it was a natural progression. I don't know.
Yeah, because the critics even say creative stagnation with this album here, and maybe it's because of the covers at the beginning. I don't know, but
I don't get that because the singles they released, like Angel Harlem, Desire, they don't sound anything like this stuff before.
Yeah.
No, they don't, man.
Yeah, I think it's just they wanted.
When Love Comes to Town, that's like with BB King. That was a great.
It's a great record.
All right, so that is my choice for the week.
Great choice, Sean.
Well, as soon as Scott said you could do live, that's what immediately I'm like.
Oh, I should explain that. If you weren't here the last week, we have opened up because we were thinking, we're going to do live and special episodes, and we're going to do soundtracks and special episodes. Well, we did one live episode. We're not getting back to it, so we're just going to blend them all together, and you can put whatever. So it's 500 studio records. I think in total we were looking at like 600 records. Yeah. So we're going to sprinkle the soundtracks and the live in from here on out, just to.
I like that.
Have a little variety there.
Oh, considering I cheated a long time ago because MC5 was recorded live.
Somebody brought that to my attention, Sean.
Well, I didn't think about it until after. I'm like, this whole album's live. So, yeah. All right. So that's our top 500 for the essentials for this week.
I got one.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, I think there's one more.
How did I forget about him? Because we skipped order.
I mean, it's not hard.
I always forget.
All right, so I got to tell you guys the way this works. Like one of my favorite periods of music is the 90s. So Jake tries to hog all the 90s. So I got to matter of fact, when Jonny picked live, I was like, how did Jake not grab this up?
Hold up, So just so you know, Jonny, when he mentioned, I'm like, so I want to know I want to know his top 3. And he mentioned Throwing Copper. I'm like, Scott, I did Throwing Copper. I had to have done Throwing Copper. And he's like, no, you didn't do it. I'm like, that's impossible. So Jonny, he did a one over, man. He got me on that one.
Yeah, good on you, Jonny. You got that one in. I mean, we got a few more 90s here to throw in here, and I just wanted to. I won't build big drama. It's going to be Gin Blossom's New Miserable Experience, and Jonny's got it now. I did want to explain a little bit about don't get me wrong, I love me some Pearl Jam, I love Nirvana, I love Soundgarden, but that sound and the thematics, is that a word? Of
it is now
that genre grunge, I found very constraining as a listener. It kind of had a certain sound, and the themes of the songs were, to me, I was hearing a lot of angst and, psychology, which was a breath of fresh air coming off of hair metal, which had denigrated into really bad. It was just bad thematically. But I found myself yearning for just some straight ahead rock and roll. So there was 2 groups I credit. with breaking that grunge stranglehold. One is a record that'll come up later, I think. Hootie and the Blowfish sold 16 million. So was
It's a
the
great record, man. Yeah.
was the listening audience like wanting something a little closer to regular rock and roll? I would say yes, because this is a 6 million seller right here. And again, both these records are great records with great songs, but I think they came along at the right time too. It was time to make a make a change, and this is what set me on my path. And anybody that talks to me, I'll tell you my favorite period of music is actually post grunge alternative rock. I just absolutely love it, you know. And this record, let's talk about this record. So this record did not come without a lot of pain. These guys from the Phoenix area, bouncing around there. They were in different bands. They finally all hooked up in one band. And there was one gentleman in particular who was really talented, Doug Hopkins. He was a great songwriter.
Good writer. Yeah.
Guitarist. And they did an independent release, got some attention. A&M Records signed him. They went out to California to record this record. They spent $100,000 and came away with nothing because they were dysfunctional as a band. Doug, as talented as he was, he had a lot of problems with alcoholism. Yep. And he also had a lot of anxiety issues. So signing to a major label and becoming popular, this is the Kurt Cobain thing. Some people, that's the worst thing they could imagine. So he was it actually made him worse. When they started making money, having opportunity, that's when his mental health got the worst. And what happens? People self-medicate, and his device of choice was alcohol. So they came back home, looked like it was going to fall apart. And I got to give A&M Records credit. A&M Records said, nope, we still believe in you. We want you to go to Memphis and work with, the producer's name is John Hampton. And go work with John Hampton. He worked on a Replacements record, Let It Be. Some people might know that record. So they went to Memphis, and it really got bad, and they kicked Doug out of the band. And but they finished the record, and they came back, and for a long time, this record was not getting any traction.
Yeah.
And again, credit to A&M Records. They actually released Hey Jealousy 4 times as a single. 4 different videos. And the last video finally made it to MTV, got in rotation, and they were on their way. So Hey Jealousy, it's the song that has the longest life by the Gin Blossoms. I still hear that a lot on the radio. The biggest hit, there was 2 other songs that were big hits on here, and the one that I first heard was Found Out About You.
That's on, isn't that on Empire Records soundtrack as well?
I think Until I Fall Away, isn't it? Is it on there too, Johnny? I don't know that.
It might be. I'll have to go grab it.
I think so.
So
great song.
Yeah, and you can see, both of those songs were Doug's songs too, and but Until I Fall Away was even bigger hit, and on this record is Allison Road, which is Robin Wilson, the lead singer, penned that song. One of my favorite songs on here, Hold Me Down, which is another Doug song. But just chock full. Like it's really, I listened to this again for the first time in a while this week, and really great record. It's straight ahead pop rock. There's some good guitar solos in this too. I was kind of surprised how much guitar is in this. That's not what I remembered. And I was like, oh, you know what? There's a lot of good playing on this record. So I think this is one of the classics of the 90s. Everybody should own it.
Okay, Till I Hear It From You.
Till I Hear It
is
From
the
You.
song.
And
yeah, I was going to say they're very close in name.
That one is on their second record. They included it on their second record.
Yes.
But they without,
Thank you, Stacy.
I think they really missed the songwriting, right? What gave him the edge was that songwriting. So once he was out of the picture, and he actually, I should finish the story. Shortly after they started breaking big, he committed suicide. Doug Hopkins did, and and it kind of, the band moved on without him, but they just they weren't prolific enough songwriters to carry the momentum. So they did a second album. Then there was they did a third album, and that third album really bombed, and they took off for a long time. They came back later in the 2010s with a couple good records, actually. And they're still out there playing. But to me, this will always be a classic because this and Hootie rescued me from grunge. Don't get me wrong, I love grunge, but I was ready to move on.
I'll go out and say when it came out, I couldn't stand Hootie, but for the older I've gotten, like a fine wine.
I
It's a
have to
damn
agree
good
with you on
record.
that one, Jake. Yeah.
It listening to it, I came across it much later in life. It was like, you know what, I'm going to give this album a damn try. And Scott, you will get to present it when it comes to it.
Because I love
But it
that
is a
record.
good record. I will
I
say.
think when Hootie came out, I was probably around 15, so it was
Yeah,
like,
dude, it was
I was
like,
too cool for Hootie.
Yeah, my theater teacher was all. I mean, she had that thing just stuck in her CD player. That's all she played, and we'd go to competition. You'd hear her singing. It was Hootie.
Yeah, I mean, I love that Hootie record. I probably wouldn't put it in my top 100, but I do love that record. But what I love most is Thank You, Hootie, and the Gin Blossoms, because they were right there in that same time period. Thank you for giving us Collective Soul, Better than Ezra, Sister Hazel, Dave Matthews Band. Like, it opened up that whole Goo Goo Dolls train, that whole subgenre that I ended up just loving so much.
You should
Live is in there.
You should thank
Yeah.
Hootie for Fairweather Johnson, because that was a piece of crap.
That was a turd. That was a big turd.
Couple of songs, but Fairweather Johnson, god awful.
Now, do you think Hootie would change his name after what he's been going through his whole life now? It's Hootie, and I mean, you think he has remorse for naming?
Cuba Gooding Jr. They thought he was Hootie.
Yeah,
I am not Hootie.
I don't know if he would now, because he went on to have a pretty substantial country career.
Oh yeah, but I'm Darius, not Hootie.
Yeah.
His country career was much better than Jessica Simpson's. All right.
No, I mean, his country career was legit. Like,
It was legit.
It's still
Yeah.
not over, guys. He's still
going, man.
Yeah.
But I give him kudos, because I think he's really the sole reason, not just his solo, but why, because they still perform live and they still kill it touring.
Leland just snuck in there with the bomb.
Leland just comes in, just knifes it in there. Absolutely.
We take it, not a fan. Well, that's okay. No, I don't know who was a fan of that record. That was maybe one of the worst follow-ups to
God.
a 16 million selling record in the history of music.
so that one doesn't fall into the first three.
That's
Yeah,
in its own category. Like, we should figure out the bands where the sophomore efforts were just pure crap.
they fell on their face. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could technically say, as much as I hate to say it, you could say that Weezer's sophomore effort of Pinkerton, it did not fare well. It got,
At the time, no.
at the time, it got panned. I loved it.
Yeah.
It's pretty well
But-
respected now. I think that
It is
kinda
now,
worked out. Yeah.
It's
Fairweather
aged
Johnson
better.
got worse over time.
All right, so now everyone's done with their records now. Yeah,
Yep.
I think so. So
Yeah.
this is where we do our top 5 of today. We're doing I'm guessing the Beatles.
Sure, why not?
Is there going to be any surprises, or
I don't know. I mean, there always seems to be a surprise with the top 5. So, but no, I did compile a list. This is anytime you have to compile a list of your favorite artists, it can be difficult The Beatles. Now, I will say, going into this list, I set some rules for myself. I'm using the UK discography because that's what the Beatles considered the proper discography is the UK releases. So you're not getting the US like Yesterday and Today. You're not getting the Beatles' second album. You're not getting Something New. All of those
Beatles
albums, they're not part of this
Uh,
because the Beatles don't consider that proper canon. I'm also not considering any kind of EPs, so I'm not going to give away any spoilers right now. But if you know any Beatles EPs, they're not on this list. So we're looking at the 12 studio albums from the Beatles UK discography. I don't know if it's the best part of the show, but it's going to be a part of the show. So all the stuff you see behind me on the wall, it's there because it's not on the list. These are all compilations or, like I said, US albums or, stuff that just does not qualify into the parameters I set for myself. No live albums, only studio, only UK. So that being said, we can start with number 5.
Johnny, can you control? If you hover over that, does it give you the ability to advance the presentation yourself?
Let's see. No,
let's
it does
just
not.
Get this.
Okay,
I have. So being in here is just like being in my house. I have no control.
Okay, I'm your servant. Just tell me when you want your slide flipped.
Okay, so this is going to be like giving a presentation with the military. I
Yeah.
just say the word slide and you just. Okay, so number 5, and I will say this with number 5. There it is, Abbey Road.
That
This
is my
is
number
one-
5 too, Johnny.
This is
Looking
one that could fall to number 6. It could go to number 4. It's kind of it really depends on what mood I'm in that day of the week. So Abbey Road, probably the second most iconic album cover from the Beatles. It's the one that we as a family had to duplicate when we went to London. I mean, this is just alone. You show this to somebody, they know exactly who this is, what album this is, even if they don't know a single song off of it. Even though they probably do know songs off this album. I will say, the main reason that this elevated into number 5 from like a number 6-ish is solely on the strength of George Harrison's songwriting on this album. The 2 songs that I think are the absolute best tracks on this entire album are both George Harrison songs. So you have Something, which, according to Frank Sinatra, is the best love song ever written. You have Here Comes the Sun. I mean, those 2 songs alone are enough to carry this album into a top 5.
I agree with you on number 5.
You
Come
also
Together
have
would be number 3.
you have Come Together. You have what I think is a great song off this album that I don't think gets talked about enough. Oh, Darling is one of the best vocal performances that Paul McCartney ever gave. Octopus's Garden. It's goofy, it's Ringo, but it's fun.
Yeah.
So
Great guitar riff.
It is. Writing credit goes to Ringo on that one, but he was helped quite a bit by George on that one
He
too.
was.
So again, George with another little touch on this album, helping out his buddy Ringo. I Want You, She's So Heavy. We're going to talk about another heavy metal song from the Beatles later, but if you listen to I Want You, She's So Heavy, especially like that last part, it's as sludgy as anything that Black Sabbath ever did. So the Beatles were all over the place with this album. You could tell they were getting very creative towards the end of their career here. And that's where kind of on the side 2, this album kind of loses me. I can appreciate what it is, but the medley to me, as well put together, the medley for me is a George Martin accomplishment more so than a Beatles accomplishment. It's a lot of fragments and little minute and a half ditties that George Martin sewed together to make a song. It still, I don't think, takes away from the fact that this is a elegantly produced album, and like I said, the songwriting from Harrison alone deserves to get this into the top 5. So I'm putting Abbey Road at number 5.
I had it at number 5 too. So we're in agreement so far.
So that's probably going to change very soon. So number 4, don't change it yet, Scott. So number 4 is going to be probably where this goes off the rails for a lot of people. We're going to 1966, and we are going with Slide. Revolver. So I have had very long discussions about this album with Jake. I do think it falls into the top 5, but I don't think that we're getting anywhere near the top with Revolver. And here's why. And this is what I've discussed with my good friend Jake about this particular album. This is a collection of really good songs, but there's no cohesiveness with this album. I consider Revolver to be kind of, if you look at the Beatles as a creature, the early albums are infancy and childhood. Revolver is the awkward adolescence where they're really trying to figure out who they are. They're getting experimental. They're doing a lot of weird stuff, but there's no real cohesion to it. They mature later into an adult, but this is the awkward adolescent stage. It's a good album. I mean, you've got everything from Eleanor Rigby, which is honest. If you had to pick the top 5 Beatles songs, I would probably put Eleanor Rigby in the top 5. Taxman, Yellow Submarine, again, another Ringo-led song written by Lennon McCartney. Andrew Bird Can Sing is one of the better guitar riffs ever written by the band. Got to Get You Into My Life. Tomorrow Never Knows was where you really got to see that the Beatles are changing, they're evolving, but the album is not, it's disconnected, but it is a collection of extremely good songs.
This was done entirely on purpose, and I have a feeling Scott Knight was
So it's kind of like
this.
Peter
Jake,
Brady when his voice was changing.
Jake, Revolver is my favorite Beatles album.
This is blasphemy that this is number 4.
Yeah, I don't.
So you'll see with my top 3 why I kind of went that route over. And here's the other thing you have to look at. This is not my list of favorite Beatles albums. This to me are the top 5. Like, this is what you need to listen to Beatles albums in this order. Now, Revolver for me personally is not top 3. It probably does reside around 4 or 5. It is a good record, but like I said, it's the disjointedness of this album that doesn't put it higher up for me.
I don't think you applied that to number 2, but
Listen to me, Scott.
I know what
Van
that is now.
Halen top 5
I know what number
looks
2 is now.
immaculate right now. Van Halen top 5 looks good.
I have no problem with it. My Beatles albums change from month to month, to year to year.
Definitely not my number 4.
So,
wow.
I already knew that was going to cause the most chaos. Again, it wasn't done on purpose. I put a lot of thought into this, and I was like, how can I put this any higher? And I couldn't. It's just one of those things that I feel, that's where it fits, is number 4. Because number 3,
I screwed this whole thing up. Your number 3, I know exactly what you're going to pull up because we talked about this.
I know what
we may
2
have.
is now.
I don't know. Number 3.
It's an earlier record.
It is an earlier record. So I feel like the Beatles have, kind of those 3 phases. You have early Beatles, you have the evolutionary, where you're talking about like, that 1965 to 1967, and then you have the mature Beatles. And I think that number 3 for me, Slide, is A Hard Day's Night. Of the early Beatles albums, to me, this is where you need to go. And for me, this oftentimes kind of fluctuates to number 2, number 3. This is the first album that Lennon McCartney actually wrote the whole album. They didn't do cover songs. This is the Beatles really coming into their own. It's kind of a soundtrack, but it's an album, so I don't think it's really cheating.
John Darren Camp. Look at this. Look at these eyes right now.
Everybody's loving the Revolver stuff. I just swear.
That tells me right now, with that pick, with the remaining albums, Rubber Soul is not even in the top 5, and you're bringing that in.
I am bringing this.
Dude.
We talk about. There's been discussions about. I think I don't know if it was on this show, if it was on one of somebody's Whatnot stream about the best opening songs to an album.
Taxman
This
Revolver.
this album has the best opening chord, period. Iconic. This record, I mean, when you have songs like Hard Day's Night, I Should Have Known Better, If I Fell is one of the best harmonies the Beatles ever put on tape. And I Love Her is one of the most beautiful love songs written, and that George Harrison guitar line in there is just fantastic. Can't Buy Me Love is nothing but just pure pop perfection. And even the B-side, which the first side of this were the songs from the movie, the B-side of this record are all just songs they just threw together to put on there. And when you're just throwing songs on there, like Anytime at All, I'll Cry Instead, Things We Said Today, I'll Be Back. This is from 1964, the Beatles really understanding what it was like to be a pop band that wrote their own music, played their own instruments, and I mean, even put out a movie with the album. So Hard Day's Night to me is a special record. If you're going to go with an early Beatles record, because it's very different, it's very poppy. Some people, the boy band era, this is the one you go with. And I think that, this for me lands at number 3.
Loving it. Loving it.
Oh, preferred pressings for each. I mean, if we have time, we can talk about that.
That'd be like a whole show.
Johnny
It
did
would
his
be.
college dissertation on that.
So number 2,
Jake's leaving.
I know Scott doesn't necessarily agree with this one, but number 2 for me, and it's because of the variety that you get on this record. The bag matches the album cover. This is the Beatles' self-titled record, often referred to as the White Album. Probably I am conflicted as to whether this is really good and genius design or if it's the worst design ever for an album cover. But the Beatles self-titled is their only double album, came out in 1968, and it spans so many different musical nuances. It opens with Back in the USSR, and it has everything from Rocky Raccoon, Piggies, to an avant-garde, almost 9-minute long soundscape of Revolution 9, which I'm not saying is a great track, but the rest of this body of work makes up for Revolution 9. The White Album is something special. And this is one that, when we talk about different pressings, there are so many different pressings of this album alone that, you could go on for 2 hours just talking about those. The White Album is very different. It includes 4 George Harrison songs on it. It includes 1 Ringo Starr penned song. So you've got everything from, and I talked earlier about heavy metal. What I consider to be the first heavy metal song ever recorded, Helter Skelter, is on the Beatles self-titled. So you have everything from heavy metal to a Ringo country song to these very ambient George Harrison songs like Long, Long, Long.
Well, Professor Darren Camp, serious question here.
Yes.
There's
How
2
come the
Ringo
same-
Starr songs on there?
How come the same criteria that you applied to Revolver doesn't apply to this? Like, I've always seen this as a disjointed, bloated mess.
So I think with this one, it's the disjointedness that actually it works in its favor. Whereas with Revolver, you were in an era of the Beatles where the albums were, you kind of expected them to be cohesive pieces of work. Jake mentioned Rubber Soul earlier. That's more of their kind of folky album, and the whole album kind of personifies that. The earlier albums, Hard Day's Night was a pop record, and it all kind of fit. Revolver, yes, experimental, and yes, really pushed boundaries in a lot of ways, but it was, you could almost tell they were almost pushing against themselves. The self-titled record, whether purposeful or not, it followed their time in India, and this was the first instance of seeing what the Beatles were going to be like as solo artists, because it was almost like they each kind of wrote their own songs and then put them on this record. So the White Album is unfortunately, in hindsight, it was kind of the first glimpse into them kind of splitting up. This is when Ringo actually left the band for a while and went to Greece to go sail around on a ship and scuba dive. This is where the tensions really started. This is after Brian Epstein passed away. So the band was kind of already, because of a lot of external influences, was already starting to kind of break apart. So it kind of only makes sense that the album feels the way it does. And I think it, like I said, it works in its favor in this case because it is a long album, 30 something songs, 34 songs, 32 songs.
Well,
So extremely long listen to get through.
and I appreciate that, and clearly I'm in the minority about this record, but I've always been perplexed by it. Like it's 30 songs on there, and the band, nobody in the band or associated with the band told them they're putting the wrong versions of Revolution on the record. You know,
Well,
I mean,
you got to
come on.
remember too, this was really the first album in which they were going into the studio and doing things themselves, not
Yeah.
going in together as a four-piece on every song, right? They were going into other parts of Abbey Road Studios and doing their own thing, which this is number 3, correct, Johnny?
This is number 2.
Oh, so see, I had White Album at number 3. But I agree with Johnny on what makes it unique and why I love it, and that's because it's all over the place. But the bag's not coming off just yet.
There's so many great songs on it. I mean, I love.
There are great songs on it.
Don't
I'll
Pass
give you
Me
that.
By.
Great songs on it. Yeah.
With "Don't Pass Me By," which is the Ringo song. We also does "Good Night" on there. There's just so many great songs. There's a few that are just silly. "Hey Bungalow Bill," you get to hear Yoko, but it is a great album. And if you can get the copy that has the Escher demos with it, Escher demos are a great listen too.
The box set, the anniversary. The Escher demos definitely give you a better insight into some of these, and some of the songs are actually nice done acoustically. Because what Sean's talking about, the Escher demos were recorded at George's house, and on probably like a 4-track, maybe an 8-track, and it's basically just acoustic versions of the whole album, and it really gives an insight into like what these songs would have sounded like just in their infancy, and some of them actually were a lot better. I tend to. Like "While My Guitar Gently Weeps" is a good example. I think on the album, you've got Eric Clapton on the lead guitar, but I feel like that song's a little, to me, it's overdone. I actually like the stripped down version that you get on the Escher demos or on the Love album. Beautiful song when it's done acoustically. So this album was so just, like Jake said, they were kind of doing their own thing. I think Paul McCartney plays every instrument on Back in the USSR. He plays drums on Dear Prudence.
Why Don't We Do It in the Road? It was just he and Ringo. They just
it's just Paul and Ringo.
And did it quickly. George Harrison had Eric Clapton come in and do guitars
Correct.
for "While My Guitar Gently Weeps." That's what I love about it. Yeah, this definitely was the album in which this kind of. I mean, they really honestly started breaking up after Brian Epstein died. After he died, look at the interviews. With the press, look how distraught they are, man. They're in shock. They don't know what the hell. Like John Lennon, I think, said he knew that they'd had it. Like it was it. And I mean, it got to the point at one part, Paul McCartnney was like managing briefly.
Oh yeah, Paul McCartney was the only reason that you got anything after Sgt. Pepper.
Yep.
So yeah, John took the Epstein thing really hard, and the trip to India that directly preceded the White Album was where there was a lot of tensions within just the members at that point, because George wanted to go for the transcendental meditation stuff with the Maharishi. John was on board till he got there and realized that he didn't like it, so then he kind of turned on it, and Paul just kind of went just for the hell of it. And it you could kind of see the band starting to pull apart at that point.
Yeah, because Ringo was there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, he was quickly in and out. Ringo knew better. Ringo was the smart one of the four, I think. So he knew what was going on. So he's like, peace and love, and he just left. So that
Well, we all know
that's
what number one is.
That's number 2, I think, and that's the thing. When I was asked to do the list, I'm like, we already know what number one's probably going to be. This is the album that I think definitely it changed everything for me as a young kid, and I feel like as an entry point into this band, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is something special. We talked about, as far as a concept album with this, it's based off of the cover. You've got this persona that the band takes on, and Paul McCartney, through what I've seen in interviews and written in books about where he came up with this idea, it's just this probably drug induced, just kind of idea of like, I don't want to be the Beatles anymore. It's I'd rather just be someone else. And he comes up with this idea of this marching band look, which is where you get these weird uniforms. And he's like, we'll just take on this persona and put out a whole album as this band, rather than we just want to not be the Beatles for a minute, which that didn't stick. They still have to be the Beatles, but you get an album that I think for cohesiveness, and maybe it's because this is the album that I played about 5 billion times as a kid. These songs go together. Like they don't work alone. They have to be together for me. This album is a cover to cover, I won't say masterpiece, because there are some low points in this, just like with any of these other albums. There's some stuff that is stronger than others. But when you lead in with a song, it's literally the title track, and it introduces them as this band that 20 years ago, the Sgt. Pepper taught this band how to play, and here they are to perform for you. And then you get this alter ego personality of Billy Shears that comes on and sings With a Little Help from My Friends, also done later on by Joe Cocker in a much different style. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Again, you get the whole drug controversy. Everybody thinks Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is LSD. Getting Better is a great back and forth between McCartney-Lennon lyrics. Fixing a Hole is one that almost split the band apart, because I think Paul McCartney wanted to do like 800 takes of that song. George Harrison has gone on record as saying he hated that song.
It's one song I would take off the album.
I love that
and
song.
you and I have talked about it,
I love
Johnny.
that song.
If you had Strawberry Fields Forever and you had Penny Lane and you took out Fixing a Hole and you took out probably She's Leaving Home, although I don't dislike it, and you put those two songs, it's the greatest album of all time. In my opinion, if those two songs were on it, then Revolver would not be on my list. That would be the greatest album ever made.
Yeah, that, and
George
that's
screwed up.
it's a victim of the time, because at the time it was singles are released as singles, albums are albums, and the two don't mix. So they record Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane, and George Martin says, no, that's going to be your double A side, and it's not going to go on. It was recorded during the same sessions, but he's like, nope, they're going to go out on their own. This is its own thing. So yeah, I feel like that time, that late 1966 into 1967 was the most creative writing time for this band. And this album is the product of that writing. You can go through the rest. I think Within You Without You, it's the only George Harrison song on this record, but I think it tops anything that was on Revolver by Harrison. The song is amazing.
You put it over Taxman.
Within You Without You over Taxman, I probably would. Now, when I did a head-to-head between the two, when I did a favorite, when I did a head-to-head with the two albums, I didn't put Taxman against Within You Without You, but I think just the lyrical content of Within You Without You and the fact that they choreographed, for lack of a better term, the Indian instrumentation with actual classical instruments is amazing. The production on that song,
production's great. Yeah,
it far exceeds anything in Taxman. The closing track on this is A Day in the Life. That's a mic drop of a song, period. It's it's a very interesting listen. Songs like "Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite" oftentimes will catch people off guard because it is a little weird. Gets into the psychedelic rate, because that's the other thing that not, I forgot to mention about this. This is kind of where psychedelia started to kind of take off, is with this album. So Sergeant Pepper's Only Hearts Club Band, I think, everybody who has ever heard me talk at all, has ever watched one of my YouTube videos or been in one of our Whatnot streams, it sits over my shoulder every single stream that I have. This is the album that made me love not just this band, but music. I remember sitting in front of the stereo with the big headphones and just listening to this album over and over and over. And I can't say enough good things about this album. This is my number one without question. So that's my top five. I know Scott asked for honorable mentions, so if you have those on a slide, we have some honorable mentions as well. These are the ones that I chose as honorable mentions.
Please please me.
Now, I will say with Let It Be and Rubber Soul, those are the ones that can kind of bounce around with Abbey Road as a number 5. I like Rubber Soul. I think it's a very solid record, but it's too folky for me to put it in the top 5. There are some absolutely great standout songs on it, but I think the overall vibe, it's just too folky. Let It Be, for me personally, it is a top 5 album. It probably is above Abbey Road easily. But it's one that I think that, for an outside perspective, somebody coming into the Beatles and listening, it's an honorable mention. It's not a top 5 record. But I do love that album. And I think Please Please Me, just when you listen to that record, the fact that Please Please Me as an entire album was recorded in full in about 13 hours is enough to get it on this list. And it's damn near a live album too, because they just played it for a 4-track all together at the same time. It really shows how tight they were as a band, coming off of all the years in Hamburg and in the Cavern Club. And then they record this album, Please Please Me, just beginning to end, almost straight through, very few takes. And
I'll tell you this about Please Please Me. You nailed it. So I think what's great about that album, and I think Please Please Me, I could be wrong on this, you might know, but I think Please Please Me stayed number 1 longer than any other record. Wasn't Please Please Me number 1 for a year or close to?
As far as the duration on the charts, I don't know. I know this is the time when the Beatles were, like, as far as their singles, and most of them came off this record, were number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yep. And they
at the same time.
I mean, obviously they were tight by the time they got in and made that album because of just the constant playing in Germany. So that was probably when they were most tight as a unit.
Oh, absolutely.
They just got more creative. And with all the live performing over the next few years, they're playing, like they've said, got to crap. And that's why they wanted to go back in the studio. Now, my top 5, because I just got to throw it out there.
No, go for
Abbey
it.
Road, we agreed on. Abbey Road is my number 5. Number 4 is Rubber Soul. Number 3 is the White Album. Number 2 is Pepper. And number 1 is Revolver. That is the honorable mention. I would go Hard Day's Night. I would go Let It Be. And I would go Please Please Me.
Jake, I'm going to hate to say this, but your list and my list are exactly the same. Now, I will also concede.
What the hell happened to Jonny? What happened to Jonny?
Well, no, I will concede this. There might be something here that we don't know, we don't appreciate. I am sure among this panel, nobody's listened to the Beatles, studied them harder, reflected more on the Beatles than Jonny. It's just, I think it's personal taste. Me, there's a hard line. I care nothing about anything before Rubber Soul. It's pop candy. I don't like it. It's boy band stuff. Rubber Soul's where they get my attention, and then, so I'm almost like a Blue Album guy,
That was the first album I ever bought, was the Blue. But as a kid, as a 9-10-year-old kid, the early stuff, the bubble gum I loved. As I got older, I got it. I understood it. I think a lot of us, we got into it, at a young age, which I did. the early stuff is what really did it for me that I'd loved. But when I got into everything from 65 onward, from like Rubber Soul onward, it just glue. It stuck with me. But I will say that Jonny is right with A Hard Day's Night. As far as the earlier albums, I think it is their best.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be my top 5 per se, but could it kind of squeeze yeah, it could kind of squeeze in maybe, because the thing about Abbey Road, he's correct. Side 2, I was the same way. It's incomplete. I would have liked to have heard Golden Slumbers, I would have liked to have heard some of the songs in their totality per se as a whole medley. The end, okay, very quick. Came in through the bathroom window, very quick.
The thing I'll give with the end, though, the end does have the only real drum solo in any Beatles song ever, and it has a three-way.
He hated drum solos.
Yeah, it also has a three-way guitar solo back and forth. That is that is amazing, and it ends with one of the best lines of any Beatles song ever. So.
Yeah. But see, wouldn't you have I would have liked to have some of those songs. That was the thing that's frustrating. Is I would have liked to have known where those songs would have gone.
True.
And you are 100% correct. Yeah, George Martin. That's just George Martin being George Martin. And basically, side 2 is the Beatles' love before Beatles' love.
Right. No, 100%.
So,
and that's there's always been that. I don't know if it's so much a debate, but there's always different opinions on who the 5th Beatle was. To me, it's there is no question. It's George Martin.
Yeah,
100%.
100%.
And because as far as producers go, and that's the other thing, you see Let It Be on the screen right there. It's the one album that he technically did produce, but Phil Spector came in and put further production on it and ended up getting the credit on the album. The initial cut of that record was a George Martin production, but it's the only record in their discography that he did not produce.
Do you prefer Naked over Phil Spector's?
Naked is different. I grew up with Phil Spector's version. So I know that version better. That one is more burned into my memory than Naked is. I mean, there's some definite high points on the Naked version, but I
will say on Let It Be, I prefer the version of Let It Be with George Harrison's hard guitar solo on it. I think it's better than just the very.
What you're talking about is the album version versus the single version. Yeah,
correct. The album version is Jonny, I just want to go ahead and congratulate you and let you know that it is official. Scott Knight is no longer in the doghouse with Van Halen top 5. That has now been surpassed.
It has not. It has not. No, it has not.
I don't understand why that was so controversial. I mean, I nailed that. I was just listening to Van Halen 1 today and saying, what are those dweebs listening to? Van Halen 1 is a guitar legend.
84 blows it out of the water.
It's not even close. It's close.
Well, this will be we're going to be rehashing that forever. But Sgt. Pepper is definitely the number 1 Beatles album. I don't know if there's any question except for you on this planet thinking that Sgt. Pepper is not the number 1. It's only you. So there's no.
Well, like I've said, there is no Pepper without Revolver
or Please Please Me.
Yeah.
So
no, it's different.
It's not.
Or Live at the Star Club for that matter.
I saw her standing there. Misery, Anna, Go to Him, Chains, Boys, Ask Me, Please Please Me, Love Me Do, P.S. I Love You.
It's the whole thought process from the time they went in the studio in 66. After they leave Candlestick Park and they stop touring and they go into the studio, that process, when they went in and started that, right? You could say, okay, maybe they were in here doing Revolver and they were immature. Fine. Okay, I'll roll with that. I won't necessarily disagree with it because they're going somewhere they
Welcome
haven't
to
been.
the hour 3 of 3 Men on the Record.
But you can't get to Pepper without going through Revolver.
No,
I
and I
just
would
think
agree with that. They had to progress in some way. I just feel like that progression at that point, it was still too what direction are we going kind of thing. And I think there was cohesiveness with Rubber Soul. I will give the album that. But I
you
think
can
they lost it.
consider. Yeah, look, I wouldn't get mad if you were like, "Hey, I consider Rubber Soul and Revolver kind of a continuation." I do
They kind of
think that
are.
there are a lot of similarities with the
Scott, you
two,
knew this was going to happen, right?
but I like that. I like that.
3 bands we're gonna ban. Like we no Pink Floyd,
No,
no Beatles,
no, they're
no
going to be.
Oasis. For God's sake, no
They will
Oasis.
be. Oasis will be in the essential.
Now,
Absolutely.
I will also
There's
say,
already
because
one in there.
there may be, because okay, I trend more towards, and if you look at that top 5, I do trend more towards the later Beatles material. Like Scott was saying, the early stuff, I love it, but it's a different kind of love than it is for that later stuff. One of my favorite releases from the Beatles, it was not a UK album, which is why it didn't make the list, or it would have been in the top 5, is this one right here.
Magical Mystery Tour.
Magical Mystery Tour has the title song, Fool on the Hill. I Am the Walrus is on this, but in the UK, it was not released as an album. It was a double EP. So I didn't include it on this
Isn't a
list.
double LP the same as an LP, really?
So how many songs is that? Is it 6 songs? And with the length of it, I can't call that an album. I just can't. But the side 2 of this, if you were to consider this, with the side 2, Hello Goodbye, Strawberry Fields, Penny Lane, All You Need Is Love, Baby You're a Rich Man, this would have been a contender for a top 1 or 2. Magical Mystery Tour is a solid record.
Greatest live record, Scott, right now. Just letting you know, it's Oasis Live 25. Let's go, baby.
I like how I don't have to impugn Jake's credibility at all. He just talks and does it for me.
All right, so this is the point where we're going to start winding down, because obviously this conversation can go on for weeks, probably.
Jonny might stay up all night.
Because for me, Please Me might have been in the 5. I mean, and again, beginning of the year, certain parts of the year, my list changes. I mean,
and that's I would 100% agree with Sean on that. And honestly, I know there's a lot of trash talk in the chat. There's a lot of trash talk with Jake, but the thing is, there's no anger here. Everyone's list is different, and it's going to be different.
And it should
be. That's what's so great about this band and bands like the Beatles and Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. Not everyone's going to agree with their top 5, like they should with Van Halen and Pearl Jam. But we're just going to leave it at that.
Point. I will go back to the higher level point. Is I love people that love music. Right? I don't have to agree with you, but I like people. I like talking to people, have a passion. I did want to take this time to show our appreciation for Jonny on a couple fronts. One, stays up the middle of the night just to do this occasionally for us.
Isn't that awesome?
Appreciate.
Awesome.
I mean, I think we could have Jonny on every other week if he's available. He's a good mesh with us, and he also takes a lot of time. That's why I will go back and listen to those earlier Beatle albums that you put in the honorable mention in Hard Day's Night, just to see whether I'm missing something, because I do respect John's opinion on stuff. So thank you for the hard work on that. I know you put a lot of thought and effort into it. And it's the top 5 is always doing the top 5 is always a little bit stressful when you do it, because there's going to probably not be anybody in the audience that's going to agree with every number you put on those records. So that's great. And I do want to plug Jonny's burgeoning YouTube content creator career. He's doing a great job. Go over to Channel 910 on YouTube and give him a follow, like 500 plus other people have done, which is a
blow Jonny some love,
YouTube.
y'all.
So,
or send their love this way. You send.
Yeah, I hope Jonny brought us some. I
hope all of Jonny's people were in here tonight and they heard.
I hope so.
Top 5.
Yeah. Well, let's. Stacy did have a question. That's Sean. If you can scroll up and get that, I'll just tell you what's coming up. So on the 29th, we have the debut of Mr. Tom Newman on 3 Men on the Record. Toothpaste King is going to join us. The top 5. I'm going to do the top 5, and the top 5 is going to be the top 5 years in music.
We freeze again.
I'm just gonna say this right now. That show's gonna be a damn train wreck.
I have strategically placed this, and I'm saving Johnny here too. I don't think the Beatles thing might not linger on like the Van Halen did, because I'm coming right behind, and there's probably going to be some disagreement. I know there'll be disagreement on that, but then I've set it up perfect. Our good friend Stacy is coming back, and she's going to do the top 5 Taylor Swift, and we'll all be off the hook after that is announced.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it is true, right? It all boils down to the fact that, look, man, we all love music. We all started out listening to music, and we all share that same affinity, right? And as much as we like to just give each other crap, I don't know if I'll ever let Johnny live this one down.
You're still wrong, Jake. You're still
This
wrong.
one stung. This damn thing stung tonight.
So Stacy's question.
I just bought records from Johnny. I might just say, Johnny, just keep the damn records. I don't care.
Get him, Jake, and then go through Whatnot and get all those out of compliance things ticked on his account.
I think
See,
Johnny
what
needs 4.9.
Jake doesn't know is he ordered 3 things, and I'm just going to replace it with 3 copies of Sergeant Pepper.
Dude, that's
So
just
Stacy has a question for you, John.
BG copies too, right?
And I think it has something to do with her, going through the Taylor. She's going to do the Taylor Swift top 5. So how do you objectively rate the Beatles and not play favorites?
Now, so there is always going to be playing favorites in there. I'm not going to lie that a lot of like personal bias towards Sergeant Pepper is what kind of gravitates that towards the top of any list for me. But I did try to look at, so the thing I sent, I have it pulled up over here so I could have cheat sheets. I sent to Scott this entire like nerdy PowerPoint where I actually put my own personal favorites at the end. And my personal favorites, I have Sergeant Pepper at number 1, Hard Day's Night at number 2, The White Album at number 3, Let It Be at 4, and Revolver at 5. That's my personal list. But I didn't want that to influence what was put on here, because I'm trying to look at it as like, okay, I've got a new person that has never heard of, they've been locked in a nuclear bunker for their entire life, and they've never heard of the Beatles. What do I start them out with? Those are the top 5 that I would give to that person and say, listen to these 5. And if you don't like what you hear, first off, you're crazy. But, number 2, then you start looking at the other stuff.
Yeah,
I would I'd start him out with a Hard
That
Day's
sounds
Night.
like a movie that people didn't know the Beatles.
Maybe Brendan Fraser was in it. I don't know.
That's a solid approach, Johnny, because having a Hard Day's Night in there is a sample of what you have before Rubber Soul, right? So
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would start with a Hard Day's Night. I would say that. Say it's a hell of a record to listen
I think
to.
the truth is there's no wrong answer on your top 5.
No.
Well,
because it's all subjective. It's 100% subjective and always will be. The problem that you
Van
face
Halen.
the problem you face in a group like this, because you have very passionate fans. I know that as music fans, these 3 gentlemen are very passionate. I know Jake is very passionate about Beatles. I know Sean is, and I think Scott, if I'm not incorrect, you're more of a casual listener of the Beatles.
Mhm.
But I know that the chat, there's folks over there that are very passionate
He's
about
a
this stuff as
Stones
well.
fan.
And
he is a Stones guy.
wait, and you can be both. I'll be honest with you. The people that say you have to be one or the other, they're full of crap. You can be both.
I am
It's
full of
subjective
crap.
though. The Beatles only had 12 studio albums, so 5 is almost half their discography. So where those lie with each individual. Now, if you're talking about the Stones, how many studio albums do the Stones have?
Well,
that list
Still
had
Wills
to be,
came out in '89. And they
28.
had, yeah, that's good to say.
yeah, that list had to be really hard to put together for Scott, because there's a lot that well is deep. The Beatles well is not quite as deep, and it's probably always going to be a very similar top 5 for everybody. It's just what order do they go in? So
Thank you, Will.
So I did have another question from Terry. It said an interesting question to pose tonight at the end. If you could only have the music of the artist that starts with the same letter, which one would you pick? So, like example, B, Boston, Beatles, Billy Joel.
Billy Joel is J. We go by last names.
Well, we go Discogs version. would
Discogs
be-
sucks. Watch my last YouTube video.
I go Beatles.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, if you like the most you can get out of a letter, like Chicago, Cheap Trick, Credence.
Are you asking us if we picked a letter or do we pick a band from a letter?
Pick a letter and pick any main bands. If you could pick one letter and you have and only be able to listen to those bands. with that
T,
letter.
I would say, Stacy, T would be the Rentals, Return of the Rentals.
That doesn't count.
I think just, when you catalog your albums, you kind of sense which letters have a lot in it. I think I would go R because I'd get the Stones, and then I would get a lot of music. I'd get REO, I'd get the Replacements, I'd get the Rentals. I mean, everybody needs that piece of crap.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, I'm gonna get Scott and Sean both did listen to that album. Floyd loved it, so I encourage the chat, if you
But he
seriously,
doesn't like jazz, so he's.
I want you to
disqualified.
listen to it, and I promise you, the bulk of the people will say they'll say, yeah, hey, it's good, I like it.
There we
Yeah.
go. So
Yeah.
B, Bon Jovi, Blunt, Brian Adams.
I
I think it's
he'll
interesting
buy
that so many people like categorize people by the first name. It's like I remember the
I
white
go
pages.
last name.
I
Yeah,
do
I remember-
Discogs. How my Discogs is.
Yeah,
I
that's
just go
weird. I
by
have
how
two
it is in the
different.
record store.
My sales bins is whatnot alphabetized because of they use the first
Right.
name.
Yeah.
But my real collection is not that way. It's like Adams is under A.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's how I do it.
That's 100% the way I do it too.
that's a great question. And I just say to our good friend Stacy, don't overthink it. No matter what you do, it's going to be the wrong answer. Go with your heart. I appreciate you doing due diligence. And we are cheering for you to really screw it up and it to be really controversial. And then a bunch of us are never going to be
Stacy,
haggled
just
again.
understand this. Know this. I love
and we
you.
got to get our
Okay.
yeah.
I have love for you, and everything is a-okay. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be there to support. Jonny massacred. Like there's a chunk of heart. There's like a quarter of heart that's been ripped out.
It'll grow back. Rub some dirt on it, walk it off. You'll be fine.
I love you.
So here is
I would choose B's because there's Billie Eilish, Billy Joel, Billy Strings.
Joel's
You're
on the
cheating.
J.
You're cheating. It's got to be last name.
It's got to be last name.
Yeah, I do Discogs way. So when I'm doing my list, I can check.
Okay, I picked R. You're B. What'd you go with, Jake?
Skip me right now. I'm thinking. Go to Jonny.
Jake's got to look up the alphabet. He's not sure.
I mean, yeah, B's a strong one. I mean, just simply because of the Beatles discography. But if I have to go with another letter, I might actually go S because you have everything from like Soundgarden, Stone Temple Pilots,
Yeah,
Silverchair,
that's a solid choice.
That's hard.
Stabbing Westward. I mean, it's a lot of good stuff.
Supertramp.
Shit, let's just go Wheel of Fortune, RSTLNE. Let's just roll with that. Can we roll with that? Those are good ones.
You want to buy a vowel?
I mean, I could. I could buy.
Vanna just got married.
I need to buy a P. I need to add a P in there for Floyd.
All right, so make sure for Stacy's episode, that's 2 weeks from today on the 5th of February. I noticed Mrs. Shark isn't here tonight. We definitely got to get some of the Taylor crew in here to
Everybody share this show, please. so everyone-
evaluate how Stacy
Johnny's
does.
five.
I'm putting the pressure on our good friend Stacy here.
Zeppelin Skinner. That's a good one, Terry.
Yeah, that's solid, Terry. You'd get live. Johnny produced that.
There you go.
Put that in there.
Little Feet.
Lord, Luscious Jackson.
R is a good
Lincoln Park.
one. R is a good one. It's hard. RSTLNE. I'm cheating.
Yeah.
Of course you are.
All right.
Listen,
All right, guys. So I think that concludes. We are at 2 hours and 34 minutes, and our goal is 2 hours. But we knew with those two up there that
no,
that
it's
was
not
going
done.
to happen.
It's not done. It's probably gonna continue tomorrow.
Just keep the bag. I think that was a good addition to the show.
So when
the
you
bag
guys
over the head.
So let's conclude it with when are you guys all on again on the whatnot?
I have no idea. I've got a community review for our community that I'm selling at 10 a.m. So usually I go on 8:45 Central, but I may not. I might not be on until next week. If I do go on tomorrow, it'll probably be in the afternoon.
All right. Scott is obviously Saturday morning this week.
Yeah, Saturday morning. I just don't know when I'm going to get the record shipped out. We're supposed to get 2 foot of snow on Sunday, so might be Tuesday before those go out.
Sean, we should you want to just crash Scott's show?
Be on Sunday, and
and then on Sunday we're going to attend a record show locally, and then come right back here. And Retta, for those of you who don't know, Channel 910 on Whatnot, it's actually my wife and me. So Retta's going to do her single mingle,
the negotiator.
Do nothing but 7-inch singles. So that should be an interesting. We haven't done that one in a while, so she kind of takes the lead on that one, and maybe we'll show off some stuff we grabbed at the record show earlier in the morning. But it's really all about the 7-inch 45s on Sunday. We'll follow whenever Sean's done. The shark will chase us to the shore, and then we'll go live.
Yep.
Jonny,
right.
UK Animals. See if you can find a UK momentary that's crisp.
Absolutely. Always on the hunt.
Tiburon.
Correction on the Stacy appearance. That's 219, not 212.
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Stacy about tomorrow night. So guys, that's our show today. I'm sorry it ran a little bit late, but yeah,
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all.
Sorry.
Thank you, chat. It was a lot of fun. Thanks again, Jonny. Great job.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.